And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what? China. All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China.
Russian.
Russia.
Italian.
Italy.
German.
Germany.
Swedish.
Sweden.
Korean.
Korea.
Egyptian.
Egypt.
Nigerian.
Nigeria.
Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
The lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. They want us to sell our souls to barter profit. Like God's property, it's hard to market. So we steady to aim, keep your eyes on target. Cause when you got to drive, yeah, they'd rather you park it. But I don't valet, you ain't getting these keys. I'm keeping closed hands, I'm on bended knee. I'm just a reflection, dealing with 8 sections. Art mixed with life, you can feel the convection. Your lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now.
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black.
The white man is enacting a story all over the world. We left our homes and flooded the world. We smothered culture. We smothered knowledge. We erased history and rewrote it our way. Myself, my grandfather is 100% Ashkenazi Jewish. Claiming to be Jewish, Ashkenazi Jewish is just a conspiracy. White men claiming to be of tribes of Israel when I'm Germanic. You know, I have no ties to Israel, no ties to Judaism. You know, except loosely written history that's been whitewashed over for centuries. And you know,
from the Renaissance.
Oh yeah, right. You wipe everything clean. It's funny how exactly the Renaissance. It's this rebirth, but it's white rebirth. Think at the same exact time the Renaissance is happening, Columbus is sailing to America and committing genocide.
Only one true ethnic Jew, the Mizrahi Jew, because they are Africans, and if you read the original Bible written in Phoenician Hebrew, they're not. Jewish people are not Europeans. The modern Jews in Israel are Russians from Khazars, to be precise, from Russia. I learned it from
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black.
Most Egyptologists and anthropologists, archaeologists of the Eurocentric persuasion will say that Egypt is in Africa. They had to concede that, but then they still draw the line by saying that they weren't Africans like that. In other words, they weren't dark-skinned people. And of course, this is all part of the Great Deception. And the reality is that if they give up Egypt, ancient Kemet, if they give that up and say that that was a part of black Africa, then they will also have to give up Israel. And that's why they draw the line at Egypt, because if they give up Egypt, they've got to give up Israel.
Now, we're going to go over here, and I'm going to show you where Israel sits on the African tectonic plate, which means that Israel is northeast Africa. Now, when we look at this map, this is the Sinai, okay? This is the Red Sea. This is Egypt. This is the Sinai. This is Israel. All right, this is Saudi Arabia over here. Now, if you see this in Hebrew, it says Haluach Afrikani, the African plate. Here it is right here. Israel is sitting right here. Israel is sitting on the Haluach HaAfrikani, which means that Israel is northeast Africa.
Without question, we are in Northeast Africa. We are landlocked to Egypt, with the exception of the Suez Canal, which was a man-made ditch, a boundary now between, in fact, it's not even really a boundary anymore since Egypt has reclaimed the Sinai Peninsula. But nevertheless, even those of us who are Pan-Africanists in our thinking and Afrocentric, we forget and we leave off that portion of Northeast Africa and don't want to claim anything beyond that.
Europeans classified this area as a Middle East, you know, and then since this the Middle East, the other question, where the Middle West, where the Middle North, and where the Middle South? They don't have no geographical terms like that.
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black.
You know what you are? You are an ancient Israelite.
Ancient Israel, that's who we are. That's who we are. So if you give me time, if you give me time, all he said,
no, we don't have
so many years.
I know. Look at this. This is pages and pages of notes. And I promise we'll give more teaching. But here is my challenge to you.
All right.
I'm hearing some of your traditions. It's like the days of the Bible.
Yes.
Do you want to remain ancient Israelites, or you want to be Jews? Do you want to remain ancient Israelites, or you want to be Jews? I'm hearing some of your traditions. It's like the days of the Bible.
Yes.
Do you want to remain ancient Israelites, or you want to be Jews? That is the question I have for you.
Thank you. I'll answer that question.
Go ahead, I will help you.
After the demise of Solomon, we now have the northern and southern kingdom of Israel.
Yes.
So when we talk about Jews, Jews are Israelites, but all Israelites are not Jews. The 10 tribes that got lost are not Jews. They were Israelites. Jews are Israelites, but all Israelites are not Jews. The 10 tribes that got lost are not Jews. They were Israelites. Jews are Israelites, but all Israelites are not Jews. The 10 tribes that got lost are not Jews. They were Israelites. So when we talk about Jews, Jews are Israelites, but all Israelites are not Jews. The 10 tribes that got lost are not Jews. They were Israelites.
Well, it's depending.
So minority cannot swallow the majority. We are here. We are the majority down here. So you are minority, and we are older than you.
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black.
Today, it is prohibited, and you can Google this, to do a DNA test in Israel. Totally forbidden. Wrong. It's illegal. It's a crime. You'll be jailed if you do a DNA test in Israel. Why? Because they know the truth will come out. You come from Poland, you come from Ukraine, you came from Europe, you came from everywhere else. And they were the original Middle Eastern Jews who lived together with the Muslims and the Christians for centuries. For centuries. So what happened to a lot of the Jews?
The major problem of Israel is with the young generation of the black community. Black Lives Matter starts there. I had last week sit-down dinner in my house with some of the people which are considered the leadership of the black community.
Assalamu alaikum. In the 13th tribe, Arthur Koestler traces the origin of Eastern Europe's Jewish population that was largely decimated by the Nazi onslaught during the Second World War. Through extensive research, he discusses the history of a trading empire that was set up by a tribe known as the Khazars. The Khazar Empire was located between the expanding power blocks of Christianity and Islam and the people were converted to Judaism by their king as a way of standing apart from both. The Khazarians and their wealth were dispersed through the countries of Eastern Europe after the collapse of the Khazar Empire. The Khazarians were not a Semitic people, that they called themselves Jews after their conversion to Judaism is as absurd as the Chinese Muslims calling themselves Arabs.
Now I can't figure it out. If y'all are the chosen ones, shouldn't y'all be obeying better than me? I mean, I even try to keep the fourth commandment. Try to keep the Sabbath day holy. I've spent many of hours trying to figure out which is the right Sabbath day, because we know that old Catholic Church, something a little fishy about them, don't we? With that white Jesus. I mean, here's a white guy telling you black people that your Messiah is not a long-haired white European guy. Your Messiah is Hebrew, my darker-skinned brothers and sisters. When are you guys going to wake up and become kings and queens?
Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you.
I want to say peace and blessings to everyone. I want to start off by apologizing for being late. I was trying to get all my clips in. It's just, man, I'm telling you, so much with this movie. Man, I couldn't even get but a handful of clips in. I mean, there's so many points you can make on this movie. And I mean, we could be going on and on with this movie. This, like that song that never ends. You know, this could be the review that never ends, right? So I want to say peace and blessings to you guys. Hope and pray that you guys had a blessed Shabbat. We had a great time on our end. And for those that did not or don't have a place of worship on the Shabbat and you want to hear the word, guess what? Go to We Woke Now Extended. Every Shabbat, we between, I want to say 12 to 12:15. Sometimes I take the floor a little later, but East Coast time, go just tune into that channel and there's some messages for you. But I really want to say again, thank you guys for the love and support. Hard to believe that we are just at the tip, you know, that, how can I put it? Almost there, very close in terms of hitting 50,000 subscribers. I mean, you know, when I started taking this channel serious about a little more than 3 years ago, you know, we every year we've more than doubled. So last year, you know, even though we had hiccups towards the end, you know, we had a lot of a lot of things going on with YouTube. So in spite of the suppression, we still grew, you know. And so at the end of last year, I said my goal was 50,000 subscribers for this year. And we would have hit that number much earlier, I believe, had they not, when I say they, this platform, had they not shadow banned and did a number of different things to suppress the channel, which you guys witnessed firsthand. So if you if you are subscribed to the channel, double check just to make sure that you are still subscribed, because that's one of the things that's been happening. Many of our subscribers have been unsubscribed without even knowing. So those are some of the things that I observed and that we know that is being done to support this channel. So again, 2 years ago, you know, I thought we weren't even going to make it to 10,000. You know what I mean? This November 2 years ago, and then suddenly, you know, in spite of all the you know, the strikes and, you know, them striking videos that have been sitting there forever and all that other stuff, we ended up closing the year out, not just hitting 10,000, but we went past it, right? And then the beginning of last year, the goal was 25,000 subscribers, and we hit that number. And then guess what? The goal this year was, hey, 50,000. Let's keep that momentum going. And here we are. And like my old pastor used to say, you know, without you guys, I would just be taking a walk by myself. Not just me, my wife and I. We would just be taking a walk by ourselves. And I thank you guys for the love and support. We've been through a lot in this short time. So I want to say peace and blessings. Shout outs to all the moderators. You know, I would go through the chat like I would normally do, but it's so many of you guys in the chat right now. We have almost 800 people in the chat. So it would be hard to go through the chat. But I will open it up because what I am going to do, I know that I'm not going to be able to go through everything within the movie, but I just want to hit on a couple of key points. And I will open up the chat for some of you guys, if you guys want to come on and share your thoughts of what you saw in the movie, some things that I may have missed. Now, I want to make it clear, I didn't catch everything. And I'm sure you guys caught some things that I didn't catch. But I caught some key points that I wanted to just bring out to you guys. But we'll drop the link inside the comment section. And you know, if you want to jump on, all I ask is just be very respectful. Let's not use curse words. Let's be very considerate about the platform because we are under a lot of eyeballs. You know what I mean? We are surrounded by a cloud of witnesses. So other communities are looking for every little opportunity that they can to file complaints and all kinds of stuff about what we're doing over here. But guess what, family? We woke now. Guess what? And we ain't never going back. I know I'm saying it, you know, with a little colloquialism in it, but we woke now. We ain't never going back. That's right. I said it that way. You know, we are woke now, family. We woke now. We ain't never going back. T-shirts coming soon, you know, and I really appreciate you guys. Again, shout outs to the moderators. You know, again, really appreciate you guys for holding things down, you know, and again, I want to reiterate this again. Don't even you know, assume that you're still subscribed. Go over to the check this the subscriber button. Make sure you subscribe. Re-click that notification button because I did a live a year ago showing how YouTube was literally taking the check out of my notifications. But nevertheless, really appreciate it. Again, want to give a special shout out to my sister Carol. She's been rolling with me since my Facebook days. She's been rolling with We Woke now for a long time. And I thank the Most High for her making that recommendation of me just transitioning all what I've been doing over at Facebook over to here. Some of you guys that know me on the Facebook side of things, Facebook was doing all kinds of things to suppress my channel, my lives, right? To the point where as though I would literally, within 3 minutes, they would disconnect my live. They would literally kick me out of my own live. The live would go from being crystal clear to looking like I'm on some 28K modem stuff, you know? So I want to just thank Sister Carol because she was telling me, hey, you need to take all what you're doing over at on Facebook and take it over to YouTube. And I kicked against the pricks. Man, it got to the point where it started getting to drip drops on, you know, on Facebook in terms of how they were suppressing. And I was about to just say, forget it. And then I decided to give it a try. You know, you guys know some of the circumstances, but nevertheless, here we are now doing something that is not easy to do. It's not easy to hit that number. It's not easy to get 1,000 subscribers. There's millions of people that are just struggling just to even get to 1,000. You know, it's not easy, you know, and then let alone to get to 10,000 and then let alone get to where we are right now, 50,000. You know, we're short, but we're getting there. I believe we'll get there over the next couple of weeks, but we want to keep the content going. But nevertheless, family, let me give a shout out here, special shout out right now to Be Concentrated. For the love. I want to say Be Concentrated. Really appreciate you for the love and support. Be Concentrated for Yahweh. Really appreciate it. And you see the letters here, Quadash, right? That's what this is right here. Quadash. That's the ancient Hebrew pronunciation of holy. In the Israeli, they said Kodesh. But right here, this is the primitive root word because you see, I'm getting ready to break down these letters, right? The vowels, the different vowels here. But anyway, you see Kametz and you see the Patak. And then you see the Sheen, which the dot is to the right. So that tells you that this will make a sh sound versus a s sound. So this is still the ancient pronunciation, Quadash. But thank you for all the love and support. Really appreciate the contributions tonight. And also, family, let's give some shout outs to Lisa Jackson. Thank you, my sister, for the love and support. And family, again, thank the Most High for all of you. And I don't take it lightly. You know what I mean? Whether you have resources to contribute in terms of a monetary, whether you have it or not, you know, the love is still the same. You know, though you guys that decided to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, I really appreciate you guys. So I don't take you guys lightly. So let's, again, show some love for Sister Lisa Jackson and also show some love to Be Concentrated. All right. So we got a lot to unpack here. And again, I'll drop the link in the comment section pretty soon to let you guys jump on and we'll kind of make this an open mic. But again, let's be respectful. Let's not say things that can cause us to get any strikes on this video. Because if you say something that can, you know, that may be way out there left field, guess what? I may have to pull, you know, if you see this video come up right here, this look. Yeah, if you see that look, if you see me flash that video, that means, hey, reel it in. And let's be very respectful. But let's go to get into it, family. Let's stretch this screen out. All right. And I tell you, family, it's so much to unpack. And the reason why I labeled this or titled this video, Warning to the Negro, family, there's so many things that's around us right now that we have to understand that there are warnings all around us right now, warnings to us right now, warning to the Negro. That's why I labeled it this way, you know. And I want to give us a quick shout out before we get on. Thank you, Andrew, for the love and support, family. Let's show brother Andrew, some love. Thank you for the contributions tonight. Really appreciate it. All right. So leave the world behind. Warning to the Negro. Leave the world behind. Warning to the Negro. All right. Now I tell you, I watched this movie a couple of times, saw it when it first launched, and wanted to kind of like let it marinate a little bit, just so that way I can really do an honest assessment of the movie. But family, it's so much to unpack here. And we're going to cover a couple of things, but I'm going to allow you guys to help bring forth this lesson as well. So let's go to get into it. Let's start with the very first thing. And I know you guys see in the backdrop here, 1619, right? That stood out like a sore thumb. Matter of fact, that ship coming on, you know, we'll get to that in a second. It was certain things that just stood out like a sore thumb. So I know that this movie, right, was put together to warn. Right. There's a warning in this movie. Right. And we know that the Obamas, they were the executive producers. Now, some may look at it as a light thing. Hey, what's the big deal? Well, come on, family. President Obama occupied and sat in one of the highest seats in the world. Now, family, I understand clearances, right? I understand security clearances. And I can tell you, I have one of the highest clearances in the country. And even with that high clearance, I still did not have I was not privy to the information that comes his way, the stuff that he's seen, the stuff that he knows. So even though I know some of you guys don't look at the former President Obama in a good light, but I'm going to tell you like this, you know, he dropped a lot of jewels inside that movie, right? Say what you want to say about him, but how many presidents would have made a movie like that? How many presidents would have made a movie like that? We got to keep it real. Right. So, and he's been getting a lot of flack over that movie because, of course, when you go into that media street, you're hearing voices saying that he's disrespecting Caucasians. He's promoting the hatred of Caucasians. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it, family. I don't want to get, take up too much of your time. I know we started late as it is, but we're going to start off with the white lion. All right. Before we get into it, let me just play a clip here. All right. I'll put together some special clips. So let's get an understanding of this white lion. All right. Here we go. Here's a clip I want to start off with. This kind of use it as a segue.
400 years ago this month, in 1619, 20 enslaved Africans arrived at what would become the United States. Ironically, a place called Point Comfort in the British colony of Virginia.
In Jamestown, Virginia, they will be having the observance of the 400th anniversary of the first enslaved person to set foot in America from Africa.
The bells rang for 4 minutes. One for every century since the arrival of the first African slaves in the English-speaking colonies that would become America. Taken from what is now Angola, they were sold for food to the struggling colonists, the first of hundreds of thousands that would follow, creating history, changing history.
Now, family, you guys know this right here. Some of you guys that may not know, we'll give a little history on the white lion. Let me just bring that back here so you see. Of course, in the movie, it was a oil tanker. It was an oil ship. These are some huge ships. You see these, especially if you from the Newark area, Newark, New Jersey. That's my hometown. Especially when you go down to the Neck or to the Port Newark, you see these ships. These are some huge ships, right? But anyway, this is the white lion, right? And you heard the audio in the background about the history starting in 1619, and we'll get to that in a second, about how the United States was founded. And again, the first set of slaves, right? It's some interesting information that comes that when you research that we can unpack about this, especially that the whole situation with slavery. And I'll say it like this: every religious system had our people as slaves. That's right. I said it and have the proof. And depending on the time, I'll put it up in here, about some of the especially one of the main players tend to get a pass and everything. We already know that the Roman Catholic Church enslaved our people. Come on, family. We know the Roman Catholic Church enslaved our people. Understand, when we look at the Spaniards, wait a minute. You mean to tell me Spaniards enslaved our people? Latin people enslaved our people? Absolutely. Come on, family. But the Roman Catholic Church helped spearhead that. And this is before the Reformation movement. So that means the Catholic/Christian Church enslaved our people, but it wasn't just them. Judaism, right? The Jewish community, as we know them, they contributed to our this enslavement of our people. And I'm going to put those notes up here just so that way you guys can have that. Matter of fact, when we progress here, when we get to the end portion of it, I got to put it up here because I don't like to say something without using their sources to prove it. Because unfortunately, that can be considered anti-Semitic. Saying facts can be considered anti-Semitic. So we'll put that in here. So we have the Jewish community, which is Judaism. We have the Christian Catholic Church, and also we have Islam. And if you study the history of the transatlantic world war, you'll see slaves was all in India. You'll see slaves that was all in China. You'll see slaves were being sold to Japan. Come on, family. The world got rich off of our ancestors. And the only reason why Russia wasn't a major player in the transatlantic world war is because of the cost to get us up there was too much. But they still play a major role in our demise right now to this day. But anyway, let me go ahead and get into it, family. So I just want to give some clarity there. So the white lion, let's give some history on the white lion. What is the white lion? What is the white lion? Now, this is a link, and I'm going to drop this link inside the comment section. You guys know how we do here. I don't like to just give you just to quote stuff. I like to give you historical end sources, historical sources that you could really go back and review at your leisure. You can vet this information as well. So let me copy this link inside the comment section, just so that way you guys can vet the information as well as we progress in this lesson. So let me go ahead and copy this over. So this is the link that I'm going to make reference to. Here we go. All right, let's start off with this white line. So this is coming from history.com about the white lion. So it's not a fictional, it's not fiction. It's not a fictional made up fable. It's not in the Greek mythos, right? It's not a fable. So first enslaved Africans arrived in Jamestown, setting the stage for slavery in North America. So family, when we start dealing with the prophecies, many would disregard the birth of the United States. When you understand the four beasts in Daniel chapter 7, and it starts off with that, the first beast, had stood up as a lion, had eagle's wings. Now I understand the eschatology, for as Christian eschatology, on how to break down that text. But I'm not locked into Christian eschatology. I don't have to go by that stuff, or Catholic eschatology, or Judaism eschatology. Matter of fact, Islam eschatology. Another, I don't have to be locked into those things because I know history. So when we understand that, you can see the birth of the United States there. Now, our slavery, in terms of our people, began even before the transatlantic world war. That's where you get into the Arabic slave trade. But when we deal with the transatlantic world war, right, we have to understand that kicked off in 1452. But the key to the prophecy of Daniel, that first beast, because we're dealing with a separation between that beast when the wings was plucked from it, removed from it, and stood on his feet and took on the form of a man. That's the Revolutionary War between the United States and Great Britain. So we're dealing with the birth of the United States. Why is that important? We'll get to that in a second. So I want to make this clear. I'm not disregarding our brothers and sisters that are in the Caribbean islands. I'm not disregarding those guys, because we all the same we're same brothers and sisters. Our brothers down in Brazil, our brothers and sisters in the UK, we've been scattered to the four corners of this earth. We're the only ones that's been scattered like that to the four corners of this earth. So I want to say again, we all the same people. We are all the same people, but we just scattered to the four corners of this earth. All right. So who did it? All right. So again, pulling this back in, right? When we deal with the prophecy of 1619, the 400-year prophecy, that's where we get to August 2019, when that 400 years hit. And there was a lot of things that was opened up during the 400 years. I'm not going to get into all of that, but again, there was a paradigm shift that led us right into the things that we saw at the pandemic. All right. But anyway, they were originally who was the they? Our ancestors. They were originally kidnapped by Portuguese colonial forces who sent captured members of the native Congo and Ndongo kingdoms on a forced march to the port of Luanda, the capital of modern day Angola. Let me read that again. Our ancestors were originally kidnapped by Portuguese colonial forces who sent captured members of the native Congo and Ndongo kingdoms on a forced march to the port of Luanda, the capital of modern-day Angola. From there, they were ordered on the ship San Juan Batista, which set sail for Veracruz, excuse me, and excuse me if I butcher the name, but Veracruz, in the colony of New Spain. As was quite, oh yeah, that actually it was quite. I thought it was one word. This should be two words here. Was quite, excuse the typo here. So was quite common. About 150 of the 350 captives aboard the ship died during the crossing, right? And this is common that you have our ancestors packed into these ships. And this was a very large ship, but we're going to get to the White Lion because there's more to it about the White Lion than what we saw on there. But it was a huge ship. Think about it. 150 of the 350 captives aboard the ship died during the crossing. So this is saying that almost 50% of our ancestors that was forced into slavery, they died. Almost half of the load died. About 150 of 350 captives aboard the ship died during the crossing. Then, as it approached its destination, right, as you see on the movie, the ship is approaching the destination. The ship was attacked by two privateer ships, right? So now here it is. You got a ship coming in, not the White Lion, right? It was another ship coming in, but in the process of that ship approaching, two other ships, one of them was called the White Lion and the other the Treasurer. Notice what you see. The ship was attacked by two privateer ships. So when we look at the movie, of course, we see the one ship making it to the coast here, but we this is letting us know that two ships, right, intercepted the main ship that was coming in. So our ancestors were kidnapped and put on the ship that was making its way over here, but then kidnapped again. So we see a double kidnapping here. All right. So it goes on to say here in this article, it says the White Lion and the Treasurer cruised from the two ships, kidnapped up to 60 of the Batista enslaved people. It was the White Lion which docked at Virginia colonies Point Comfort and traded some of the prisoners for food on August 20th, 1619. All right, so that's the significance of that ship. That's the significance of that ship, because our ancestors that was on this particular ship, they were kidnapped twice. Right? They were kidnapped in the first leg, which millions of our ancestors died along the way just to even get to the ship. Once they had us on those ships, many of our ancestors were thrown overboard, many just as they would come to shore. And there's stories about how many of them just, jumped off the ship, just so that way, and purposely committed suicide just so that way they would not have to deal with and endure the brutalities of being kidnapped. All right. So, and we'll deal with that. I'm going to copy a couple of things over here. I purposely didn't put it in here because I didn't want the presentation to be too long, but being that I mentioned a couple of things, I like to show sources. So again, the White Lion was a slave ship. Now, if we want to be real, the White Lion was a warship. All of these slave ships were really warships. Now, I want you guys to understand the transatlantic slave trade was a world war. And I'm going to copy that over here. I took it out of here, but I'm going to copy that in here so that way you guys understand exactly what went on. Why is it that the Negro history get dumbed down to reduce to saying this major catastrophe, this major event that took place is reduced down to a slave trade? No, it was a world war. The Pope Nicholas V declared and signed edicts of war. to apply the contemporary rules of war to our ancestors in West Africa. That's a fact. And I'm going to show you sources to prove it. Now that I mention it, I got two things I gotta bring to you guys. So the person that signed that edict, which is supposed to be the ecclesiastical edict or papal bull in 1442 was Saint Nicholas. His name was Saint Nicholas. And is that a coincidence that our people have a stronghold of worshiping Saint Nicholas? Saint Nicholas V. Anyway, we'll show sources in a second here once I get through some of these things here. So the White Lion was a slave ship that was used to kidnap our ancestors from another slave ship, or should I say a warship that kidnapped our ancestors from another warship. All right. So our ancestors were prisoners of war, just like each and every one of us that are here. Guess what? We are sons and daughters of POWs, prisoners of war. All right. Let's go here. 1619. I'm sure you guys remember this. This thing stood out. This thing stood out like a sore thumb. Do you guys remember this right here? Do you guys remember this right here? Do you guys remember this right here? If you remember this right here, this 1619, if you remember this, just type 1. But you see this here. You see this here. I know you guys remember this. And matter of fact, let me play this here, and I'll elaborate on this in a little bit. But let's deal with 1619. You guys remember this scene right here. Let me play this clip real quick, and I'll play it again because there's another area I want to touch on.
What Israel is saying is they essentially are absolving themselves of that responsibility if civilians are killed once they tell people to move out of those areas. But Eleni, the way that they're doing it doesn't necessarily mean that the message is getting across. They're posting it on social media. They're dropping leaflets with QR codes that then take you to a website with a very complicated map. And as we've reported extensively throughout this conflict, there have been repeated blackouts, whether localized or all across Gaza, where people haven't been able to get online. They can't use their phones to get onto the internet. And then even if they were able to, they'd see this incredibly complicated map. The other day, Israel dropped a leaflet in southern Gaza around Khan Yunis that had a surah, a verse from the Quran that referred to Noah's warning about a flood coming, and it was rather cryptic, but it appeared to be sort of a rather ominous warning, telling the people in Khan Yunis to get out because the fighting is about to intensify, and that's exactly what we've seen, Eleni.
All right, so you saw that 1619, right? Inside the guy's truck, right? He was searching, he was seeking for a radio broadcast, and what happened? This is what came up. He didn't catch it. It was 1619, right? And he heard warnings there on that channel. You guys, and I'm sure you guys remember that. If you didn't, go watch it. I don't want to be the party pooper here by letting out the nuggets, but we're going to do it anyway. You know what I mean? So I want to make it clear. This is going to be a spoiler alert. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but this is a spoiler alert. Okay. So let's go ahead and continue here. All right, let's continue. 1619. So what is the significance of the flood of 1619? Because in that clip that you heard, and I did a live on this earlier this week, the Israelis, as you heard in the news clip, the Israelis, they literally dropped leaflets with a Quran passage referring to the flood. Come on, family. You can't make this stuff up. And here it is. This movie has that in there. Has leaflets being dropped down from the drone. So we see inside the movie leaflets being dropped down. The warning of what? The flood. Because when you look at it was 5 chapters in the movie, and you see what? The flood. Oh my goodness. How is it that we see a parallel in this movie? We see what's happening right now. Do you know that leaflets were dropped on us What I mean by that, Pastor, do you know that the Catholic Church, you know, especially when we remember COINTELPRO, when you study the relationship between the Catholic Church and the FBI, they were literally dropping leaflets. They was creating flyers, making up lies about our ancestors. They were making up flyers about Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, about the Black Panthers, saying how referring to them as communists. Come on, family. I may do a special teaching on that, but when you start getting into that deep stuff like that, some people just can't handle it. I touched on it a little bit in a video that I did, but when you do the research, I got the documents. That's what they were doing. They were dropping leaflets. In other words, they were putting out pamphlets. They was putting out brochures. They was putting out documentation to promote the hatred of our community. Anyone that was speaking up for our community, they were classified as a communist, because during that time, we're still dealing with the Cold War. So anyone that was going against the system, right, especially when you get into the 50s, the 60s, and the early 70s, they labeled you as a communist. Look it up. Martin Luther King was labeled as a communist. Malcolm X was labeled as a communist. Edgar Edwards, he was, Edgar rather, excuse me, Medgar Edgar, excuse me if I butcher his name. He was viewed as a communist. Anyone that was going against the establishment were viewed as communists. So what is the significance of the flood of 1619? What is the significance of the flood of 1619? Right? Let's touch on that here. What is the significance? All right. Here's a fact. The earliest recorded Thanksgiving feast was held as far back as 1619. That's why not a single Negro should be celebrating Thanksgiving. Let me say that again. Not a single Negro should be celebrating Thanksgiving, because there was a Thanksgiving, but that Thanksgiving was a group of people thanking their God, because not the Most High of the Scriptures, thanking their God, thanking their deity for enslaving our people. Come on, family. Come on, family. We have to be real about this. The earliest recorded Thanksgiving feast was held as far back as 1619, right? So what is the importance of 1619? I already explained it. Let's go here. Let's just bring some sources up here. 1619 is the year that the raptured Negroes. Oh, wait a minute, Pastor. You just said raptured. That's right. Raptured. The rapture already occurred, even though that rapture doctrine is not even biblical, but we're going to use it in the text of what the word really means. In 1619 is the year that raptured Negroes of the transatlantic World War were brought to the colonies. Let me say that again. 1619 is the year that the raptured Negroes of the transatlantic World War were brought to the colonies. Well, let me show you what rapture means for some of our brothers and sisters that are still in Christianity, that are still in Catholicism, and you're just waiting for the rapture to happen. You know, if you understand Hebrew, sha'ar means left behind, right? So the true remnant is the surviving portion, the left behind, contrary to what that movie displayed, that Left Behind series. So guess what? Every Negro that is watching this, you are the surviving portion. You are the surviving portion. That's what remnant means. Sha'ar. You are the surviving portion. We beat all the odds just to even make it to the shores. Millions, tens of millions of our ancestors died just to even get to the first leg. But anyway, let's see what rapture means. It says here, act of carrying off, seizure. In other words, taking possession, rape, kidnap. Then we see a carrying off, abduction, snatching away, rape. Come on, family. See, I was in Kojic for almost 10 years. And in Kojic, we had what is called rapture practice. right? Somebody will scream out rapture practice, and then we all jump up, hallelujah, hallelujah. Not even realizing that we are what? Embracing our demise. Not even realizing what the true meaning of the word rapture means. So we celebrating being carried off. We're celebrating being abducted. We're celebrating being snatched away. We're celebrating of our ancestors being raped. Come on, family. Do you guys, if you guys remember that, I know don't act brand new. I know some of you guys been in Kojic and you guys know what I'm talking about. Come on, family. Come on, family. Come on, family. I know some of you guys know what I'm talking about. So the rapture, and I want to make this clear from some that I see someone posting about gathering. There's a difference between gathering and being raptured. The Most High is not raping and kidnapping his people. And it's not the church that he's going to bring forth. It's his called out assembly, not a 4th century construct that was describing the Celtics' place of worship. It was the 4th century when the Catholics / Christian group began to use the word church. So Christ never said that he's going to come back and gather a church. He made it clear that he's coming back to gather the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And guess what? If there's other nations that's not part of the blood of Israel, if they what? Honor the 10 commandments, the law, statutes, and commandments, according to Isaiah, I believe, chapter 56, and honor the Shabbat, according to Isaiah 56, then guess what? The Most High said they'll have a great reputation among them, and they'll be what? Right along with the blood descendants of Israel. So let's put things in this proper perspective. Words have meaning. The Most High, yes, he's going to gather his people, but not rapture. We're not being raptured. Yah is not rapturing his people. He's not, he's not going to rape us. He's not abducting us. He's not snatching us away, because guess what? There is the law against what? Kidnapping. I didn't put it inside here, but before we conclude, I'll make it a note to put that inside here. All right. Let me at least tell you the scripture here. Let me see. Exodus 21, I believe. Let me see. Exodus. All right, let me see here. Right? Ganab is the Hebrew word, but let me see it. Ganab. But let's go to Exodus real quick, just so you guys can have it for your reference. All right, actually, it's Exodus 21. All right, this is dealing with indentured servitude. But then when you get down to, let's see here. Verse 16. I'm going to copy this inside the chat. Let me make sure you guys have this for your reference. There is a penalty that's going to come to the so-called church. In other words, Christianity, Catholicism, and Judaism, all these different systems that have enslaved our people. Notice what this says here. Oh, let me try it again. I can't even post inside my own. If not, I'll just try. Let me try it again. Wow, I can't even post inside my own chat, family. Let me shrink it down. I can't even post in my own chat. I'm getting an error message. All right, let me try it this way. All right, let me do it this way. Yeah, family, I can't even post. This is crazy. I can't even post inside my own chat. Let me do it. Let me do a quick test. This may not be good. Whenever I start seeing stuff like this, I'll just put the scripture here. Let's see if that'll post. Yeah. Yeah, they blocking me in my own chat, family. All right, so I'll just post a little short portion of that. So on my end, it's saying that I'm blocked. It's saying I can't post. All right. So that's the verse that I just quoted here about kidnapping. And that verse says, and he that it says, and he that stealeth a man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death. Guess what? Steal, as I pointed out, right? The Hebrew word in that text we'll see is the word ganab, and it means steal away. Oh, wait a minute, steal away. That's right. Steal away is what they call a slave song, a slave spiritual, a Negro spiritual. That's right. They were singing ganab. They were singing this verse here. Those Israelites that was on those slave ships, they were singing this song right here. They were singing this verse right here. Steal away, steal away. In other words, you kidnapped me, you stole me, you took me from, abducted me from my country, my homeland. Take me back. That's why I say still away, still away. Right. Anyway, let me go ahead and get back into this. All right. So we don't need to be using that word rapture. All right. So let's go to the National Geographic. Stolen from Africa. Enslaved people first arrived in colonial Virginia in 1619. Right. Notice what it says here. 400 years ago, enslaved Africans first arrived in Virginia, stolen by Portuguese. Stolen by who? Portuguese. Stolen by who? Portuguese. Slave traders. Kidnapped by English. Ganab. Kidnapped by English pirates and taken far from home. African arrivals to colonial Virginia 1619 marked the origins of U.S. slavery. In late August 1619, 20 and odd captive Africans first touched the soil at Point Comfort, now Fort Monroe National Monument. Fort Monroe, if you're in the Hampton Roads area, Fort Monroe is just when you go into that Hampton Roads tunnel going to Norfolk. It'll be, if you're going south, it'll be right over to your left. That is Fort Monroe, right? And they have some great tours over there. And actually, I'm going to record one just to record and confirm what you see here on the screen. So in late August 1619, 20 and odd captive Africans first touched the soil at Point Comfort, which is now Fort Monroe National Monument, part of England's new colony in Virginia. These men and women had been stolen from their homes in Africa, stolen, kidnapped, ganab, forced to board a ship. They weren't indentured servants. Because when you read the preceding passages in Exodus 21, you're dealing with indentured servitude. But then once you get down to the verse that I highlighted, now you're getting into what? Chattel slavery. When you get down to verse 16, that is speaking against chattel slavery, because indentured servitude, that was voluntary. That was something that was done voluntarily to what? Pay off judgments. That's why the first verse starts off with what? Judgments. All right. So let's go ahead and continue here. Let me see here. I'm just looking here, glancing here. All right. But I got some information I'm going to share, family. You guys know how I do. So it says, these men and women have been stolen from their homes in Africa, forced to board a ship, and sailed for months into the unknown. The first Africans in an English colony, their arrival is considered by many historians to be the beginning of a 400-year story filled with tragedy, endurance, survival, and a legacy of resilience, inequality, and oppression. Come on, family. We've been wearing this t-shirt for centuries of being oppressed. All right. Now, indentured servitude is different from chattel slavery. Again, indentured servitude contracts, that's voluntarily, or you paying off debts. But we're talking about chattel slavery. Chattel comes from the word cattle. These first Africans in Virginia were not the first Africans in North America. See, this pointed out, but they were a significant part of the ever-changing Atlantic world during the colonial era. Now we're dealing with indentured servitude. Their travels and experiences represents those of more than 12.5 million other captives who were taken from Africa. And we know it was far more than 12.5, far more than 12.5, to be sold in the Americas during the 5 centuries of the transatlantic slave trade. Their story marks an important historical transition as the North American colonies began to turn away from indentured servitude and instead rely on what? Chattel, which really cattle. Chattel is just a watered down term. Cattle slavery. All right. So let's deal with this prophecy here. Then I'll drop the link about, I'll drop a little information about the Roman Catholic Church and Judaism that was key players in the transatlantic world war. So let's go to the prophecies of the flood. Let's go to Revelation chapter 9. And I think you guys want to see this a little different. Starting at verse 5, it says, and to them it was given that they should not kill them, but they that should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man. Sound like whips to me. Sound like the whips that we had to go through as a people. And in those days, men shall seek death and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. Now, this is telling you here that how many of our brothers and sisters, and many of them did kill themselves. But they were thinking that death was going to what? Redeem them as a form of being redeemed, as a form of what? Easing the pain. But anyway, let's go ahead to verse 7. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle, and on their heads were as it were crowns like gold, and their faces were as the faces of men. Now, initially, when I would break down this prophecy from a end time perspective, from a Christian Catholic perspective, I was teaching that, hey, I was referring to the Apaches, dealing with the the Iraq invasion, Desert Storm. No, family, we got to include our history, not just refer to other people's history. It started with your history, Israel. It started with our history, Judah, and the shapes of those of the locusts. The locusts, were like unto horses prepared unto battle, and on their heads were as it were crowns like gold, and their faces were as the faces of men. Notice what this says, and they had hair as the hair of women. Come on, family. Doesn't that sound like the men, those Caucasians, the colonizers? Doesn't it sound like it's describing the colonizers and the slave ships that they rode on? Doesn't it sound like the colonizers and the weapons, the cannons that they used? And they had hair as the hair of women, and their teeth were as the teeth of lions. And they had breastplates as it were breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots, of many horses running to battle. Come on, think about those old guns, those old weapons that they would use. Think about having hundreds of cannons being fired at pretty much the same time. So we can clearly see that this is dealing with what? The transatlantic world war. We can clearly see that. And when we start dealing with the Great Tribulation is the beginning of what? The transatlantic world war. Or if you want to take a little way back to the war that preceded that, the Arabic slave trade. So we see here times of Noah. And the reason why I put here the times of Noah, still going back to that flood. Because again, Israelis made reference to the flood, basically that they were going, giving a heads up of what they were about to do. They was giving the Palestinians a heads up of what they were about to do, right? And think about this. This is what the scripture says. Genesis chapter 6, starting at verse 11, the earth was so corrupt before Elohim, and yours would say God, or Lord rather. Yeah, yours would say God, actually. It says Elohim, and in the Israeli is pronounced Elohim, but it says before Elohim, and the earth was filled with violence. And Elohim looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth. Verse 13, and Elohim said unto Noah, the end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Right? Skip down to verse 17. And behold, I do bring a flood of the waters, upon the earth to destroy all flesh. So we see here the Israelis made reference to the flood. In other words, that they're getting ready to storm that whole territory and wipe all of the Palestinians out of that area. Let me play the clip again, just so that way you guys understand. I am not making this up. Let's play the clip again. Let's play the clip again about these leaflets.
What Israel is saying is they essentially are absolving themselves of that responsibility if civilians are killed once they tell people to move out of those areas. But Eleni, the way that they're doing it doesn't necessarily mean that the message is getting across. They're posting it on social media. They're dropping leaflets with QR codes that then take you to a website with a very complicated map. And as we've reported extensively throughout this conflict, there have been repeated blackouts, whether localized or all across Gaza, where people haven't been able to get online. They can't use their phones to get onto the internet. And then even if they were able to, they'd see this incredibly complicated map. The other day, Israel dropped a leaflet in southern Gaza around Khan Yunis that had a surah, a verse from the Quran that referred to Noah's warning about a flood coming, and it was rather cryptic, but it appeared to be sort of a rather ominous warning, telling the people in Khan Yunis to get out because the fighting is about to intensify, and that's exactly what we've seen, Eleni.
See, you heard with your own ears. Now, the actual video, you see the leaflets being dropped just like what you saw inside this clip. I mean, man, it kind of reminds me of what happened at the Holocaust, right? Because with the Holocaust, the Israelis that did not want to leave and go to the area that they took, right, which is over in Israel now. For those that did not want to go there, that did not want to go to Israel, go to that territory, Northeast Africa, they were told to get on these trains and it was going to take them to a place to kind of avoid the troubles, to avoid the war that was going, to avoid whatever conflict that was being stirred up in Germany. They got on these trains thinking that these trains were going to be a train to freedom, and instead took them right to concentration camps. Come on, family. Took them right straight to concentration camps. Come on, family. They refer to those trains as the train, what does they call it? The death trains. Death trains. So here we see the Palestinians were told to what? Go to South Gaza. But they had already bombed the area. So the people had 24 hours to travel to South Gaza. Roads had already been bombed. Travel to South Gaza. But what happened? They got down there anyway. Many made it to Gaza, south of Gaza, southern Gaza, and that area got bombed. Places that are being marked off limits that through the Geneva Convention and all that has been bombed. Hospitals, schools. Come on, fam. We have to be real about that. So, when the enemy comes as a flood, coming in as a flood, that's what the scripture talks about. And they are literally saying that they're going to what? Storm them like a flood. They don't care about who gets killed. They coming to wipe that whole area. Kind of sounds to me similar to what happened especially when we deal with Tulsa. Many don't know that there was some valuable property out in Tulsa. The oil, right? They didn't know all that oil was sitting in that territory. What valuable commodities, so to speak, is sitting on Gaza? Is it oil? Is it gas? I'm just asking the question. All right. So this is the prophecy, right, of the beginning of the great, beginning or actually should be beginning of the Great Tribulation, excuse the typo. But that is giving us information on the Great Tribulation. And when you study the Transatlantic World War, that was a Great Tribulation. But before I get to there, before I get to there, let me copy this over to, because I got another thing I was going to cover, right, to point out about the movie. But let me just cover something real quick. Like I said, I don't like to make references to something without actually giving you the source. So here's a source that I quote all the time, and this is dealing with slavery in the Catholic Church. So let me just highlight this real quick, and then we're going to transition to another part. All right. Let's deal with slavery in the Catholic Church. And then also I'll show you proof that a certain community that you cannot mention, regardless of like showing their involvement in the Transatlantic World War, you know, you can't even mention certain things like that because it could be considered anti-Semitic. Go figure, right? Which that word Semitic or Semite or Shemite, according to the true definition of the word, is a subgroup of the Afro-Asiatics. So if I'm Afro-Asiatic and you use the term Semite, that's saying you are a subgroup. You come from us. Anyone that's Shemitic comes from us. Even though I am Shemitic, anyway, let me leave that alone. I'm now getting into some other discussion. Let me leave that alone. All right. But let's go to slavery in the Catholic Church. Let me show you that this wasn't just a slave trade for those that are watching for the first time. I encourage you guys, you could download this source for free. Slavery and the Catholic Church, 1975. This is coming from page 52 and 53. And I'm going to zoom in so that way you can see what I'm reading here. This is what I'm reading here. This is some of the information I am going to read from. All right. We're going to read this. And notice you see here, you see prisoners of war. Prisoners of war. There was a war going on. That's right. There was a war going on, family. Let me see here. Right? We see here. And I'm going to read this in details. Let me show you here real quick. All right. And that's what you see here. That's at the bottom right corner of the screen. All right. But let's fast forward here. Right. Matter of fact, let me read this real quick. Papal grants, Papal, this is the Pope, Papa, right? Vicar, the replacement that they call him of Christ. Papal grants to the kings of Portugal, giving authority to enslave who? Saracens and other non-Christians of West Africa with whom Christendom is at what? War. So there's a war going on, right? Pointing in what territory? Pointing to what? West Africa. In 1442, a Portuguese captain brought to the Gold Coast some Moorish prisoners of war, exchanged them for how many? Exchanged them for 10 Negro slaves. So when we see Moorish, guess what? We're dealing with Muslims, right? Having what? 10 Negroes. So this is telling you that these Negroes, when you define Saracens, right? Those that are practicing Islam and those that are Arabs, but it's saying, hey, exchange these Moorish prisoners, the Moors, right? These Muslims, right? Had an agreement with the Portuguese who had some of their soldiers as prisoners of war, exchanged them for 10 Negro slaves, right? Our ancestors and brought these back to Lisbon. A trading settlement was established at Lagos by 1444. It would appear that by 1452, the Portuguese were anxious to establish their property rights over the newly discovered West African territory. And so Pope Nicholas V, there you see the name, Pope Nicholas V. Pope Nicholas V. I'm going to say it one more time. You see Santa Claus. You see Saint Nick. You see Pope Nicholas V, Saint Nicholas V, because he's been what? He's a saint. So according to the Catholic Church, so his title would be Saint Nicholas. But Pope Nicholas V was approached and was apparently led to believe that these territories of the Guinea coast were inhabited by Saracens and other enemies of Christendom. Notice what this says here. There is no other explanation of a series of papal documents which applied the well-known what? Contemporary rules of war to the situation in West Africa, whereas the Portuguese were well aware the local Negro inhabitants were not Saracens, they were not Muslims, and they were not enemies of Christendom. Come on, family. Come on, family. They applied the rules of war. There was a war going on. But why don't we learn this in the history books? Why don't we hear them teaching about the transatlantic world war versus teaching it, dumbing it down to saying it's a slave trade? It was a world war. It meets every qualification of a world war because you had multiple major nations at that time coming together. Come on, family. This is the questions that we should be asking. See, prophecies, we're part of that prophecy. The prophecy starts with us. But we've been brainwashed to start prophecy with the very people who kidnapped us, the very people who enslaved us. No, they're not on the same side of this prophecy. There's a judgment that's going to come to all these systems that have enslaved us to the four corners of the earth. So I just proved to you that the Catholic Church, guess what? They was at war with the Negroes. Didn't do anything. We minded our own business. But they were at war with our ancestors. But let's not stop there. Let me see here. Let me bring another one here. Let me bring in because I mentioned the Jewish community, right? I've mentioned Judaism. So now I have to show and prove that they participated as well. So let me pull up a quick source, just so that way, if I know I'm being monitored, I know that I have some trolls here that's just waiting to pounce and say, hey, no, prove it to me. Well, let me go ahead and prove it to you right now. And I'm going to give a Jewish source. Let me pull it up real quick. Y'all know how we do, family. And I know we got some people that may not have been here or subscribed to the channel. So I want to make sure you get educated on this as well. Even if this may be the last time you decide to tune into We Woke Now. But I want to make sure you have facts that's not taught. Facts. Right? The same people that said that they were marching with us with the civil rights were the same ones that contributed to our demise. The reason why we're in this situation from the beginning. All these communities enslaved us. Every last one of these religious systems enslaved our people, but yet they want to say to us, hey, we march with you guys. Hey, you're part of the reason why we're in the situation that we're in. Anyway, you got generational wealth that was built off of our community. Now, notice what this says here: Jews and Judaism in the United States, a documentary history, 1983, page 14, and also page 23 through 25 is what I'm referencing inside this source. From the source, purchase it. You'll see this book is not cheap. This is by Mark Lee Raphael. This is a rabbi. Notice what it says: Library of what studies? Let me zoom it in. Library of Jewish Studies. All right. Now let's see what he says. Notice who he mentions here. Right? Actually, did I put the first page? Let me put the first page. Let me make sure I got the first page. That's not the first page of the source. Let me see if I can get to the first page. Yeah. Oh, I went a little too early. All right. Let me get the first page of this book. Let me copy that in here, because I want to make sure you guys understand how the role that the Jewish community, as we know them as well, along with the Roman Catholic Church, played in enslaving our people. Right? See, this is why you got to give facts, man. When I make comments, now I got to show facts, because if I don't show these facts, this is the very thing that they will use to saying, hey, I'm giving opinions. No, I'm giving you facts. This is coming from Jews and Judaism, as I pointed out, in the United States, right? But notice what this says here, right? We have page references here, 14, also 23 through 25. It says, Jews also took an active part in the Dutch colonial slave trade. Indeed, the bylaws of the recipe in Mauritius congregations included an imposta, in other words, a Jewish tax of 5 soldos for each Negro slave a Brazilian Jew purchased from the West Indies Company. Slave auctions were postponed if they fell on a Jewish holiday. All right. I'm not going to butcher this name. I believe it's Caruso. I'm not even going to butcher it. But it says in the 17th century, as well as in the British colonies of Barbados and Jamaica in the 18th centuries, Jewish merchants played a major role in the slave trade. In fact, in all the American colonies with French, British, or Dutch, Jewish merchants frequently dominated. It says frequently dominated. This was no less on the north. This was no less true on the North American mainland, where during the 18th century, Jews participated in the triangular trade that brought slaves from Africa to the West Indies, and there exchanged them for molasses, which in turn was taken to New England and converted into rum for sale in Africa. Isaac da Costa, right? This is a Jewish person of Charleston, South Carolina, 1750s. David Frank of Philadelphia. Aaron Lopez of Newport, Rhode Island. These are different areas up there. In late 1760s, notice what it says about them. Dominated Jewish slave trading on the American continent. Look at these names here. Those are actual Jewish names, right? So this is an article mentioning that. I'm not going to get into all of this. That's highlighting and agreeing, right? Instead of saying dominant or dominated, right? They say prominent. But you know they're using this source. But anyway, let's go to fast forward. I don't want to get into all of this here. All right, let's go back to the source here. All right, we already identified these guys right here. But the source goes on to say, in these European outposts, the Jews, with their years of mercantile experience and networks of friends and family providing market reports of great use, played a significant role in the merchant capitalism, commercial revolution, and territorial expansion that developed the New World and established the colonial economics. The Jewish Caribbean nexus provided Jews with the opportunity to claim a disproportionate influence in the 17th and 18th century New World commerce and enabled West Indian Jewry far outnumbering its co-religionists. So it's saying this West Indian Jewry far out what? Playing major role, outdoing its co-religionists like the Catholic Church, Islam, further north to enjoy a centrality which North American Jewry would not achieve for a long time to come. Groups of Jews began to arrive in Suriname in the middle of the 17th century. After the Portuguese regained control of northern Brazil by 1694, 27 years after the British had surrendered Suriname to the Dutch, there were about 100 Jewish families and 50 single Jews there, or about 570 persons. They possessed more than 40 estates and 9,000 slaves, contributed 25,905 pounds of sugar. That's one of the worst plantations in slavery, was the sugar plantations. I got sources, I got videos I did on that. But nevertheless, pounds of sugar as a gift for the building of a hospital. So on the backs of raping, murdering, mutilating our people, they used that to what? Build a hospital. And carried on an active trade with Newport and other colonial ports. By 1730, Jews owned 115 plantations and were a large part of what? A sugar export business was sent out 21,680,000 pounds of sugar to European and New World markets in 1730 alone. See, stop waiting for a New World Order, family. The New World Order has been here in full steam ahead. In 1730, they called it what? The New World. When these explorers were sent from Spain and some of these other countries, they were what? Exploring what? The New World. Slave trading was a major feature of Jewish economic life in Suriname, which as a major stopping off point in the triangular trade. Both North American and Caribbean Jews played a key role in this commerce. Come on, family. We can't get away from this. And if we look up this guy, just starting with this Jewish guy, Aaron Lopez, you will see this. Let me just read this source real quick, and then we get back to our regularly scheduled program. But let me just read this source real quick. Jewish Telegraph Agency, the 18th century Jewish merchant, Prince of Rhode Island. Look at what they say about him. At his prime in the 18th century, Aaron Lopez, and this is a Jewish source, a Jewish publication, right? The Telegraph, right? And notice what they refer to it as, Juniverse. It says here, at his prime in the 18th century, Aaron Lopez was the wealthiest man in Newport, Rhode Island. He didn't get that way by taking the moral high ground. Born in 1731, a Portuguese converso Jew, Lopez practiced Catholicism openly and Judaism behind closed doors upon resettling in Newport in 1752. But let's fast forward here. Let's go back here. Right? It says here, American Revolutionary forces dabbled in whaling and shamefully participated in the slave trade. Lopez was said to have had at least partial ownership of over 30 transoceanic ships and more than 100 coastal vessels. He was also a great promoter in, it says, a positive interfaith relationships, prohibiting ships from departing from his dock on either the Jewish or Christian Sabbaths. But anyway, I just wanted to share that with you, family. I'm not going to go into all the things that he owned. Man, he owned a lot, and I can even prove to you cannibalism as well on some of those ships. But let's fast forward. Let's get back to our regularly scheduled program. All right, let's get back here. All right, now let's look at another thing that I observed. Right, see, I pay attention to the details. I'm not sure if you guys saw this here. Remember seeing this? How many of you guys know what this is that's on the screen? All right, how many guys know what this is? I just went a little geek mode for some of you guys that are joining us for the first time. So I'm going to go ahead and get back into this. And I want to say this to my brothers and sisters. When we start dealing with Sephardic Jews, I know many of you guys are under this belief that guess what Sephardic is a political title, right? You had dark melanated Israelites that was enslaved, right? So this tells you that he was not a dark melanated person. He was a Caucasian Jew, and he enslaved us. All right. So I want to make sure you guys understand that, because I know when we start dealing with the Spanish Inquisition, and I have plenty of sources to prove that there was Negro Israelites referred to as Black Jews that was on those slave ships. Oh man, now I'm going to have to share this. Man, I don't. All right, I'll do this once we get past this. All right, I'll show you that there were Negro Israelites on those slave ships. Right, when we start dealing with the Spanish Inquisition, those were Negroes. All right, anyway, but let's get back to our regularly scheduled program. I'm going a little geek mode here, but notice what you see here. Right, this is what is called a legam yani. Right, horseshoe yani. Right, I know a lot of you guys may not recognize this or understand. This is phallic worship. They're going shopping. This is a shopping center that you saw Julia Roberts shopping at. Right. But we see here the Yanni. She's driving around the Yanni. This is phallic worship. Right. What is the Yanni? The Yanni, the Omega symbol, especially when you start dealing with Omega Psi-Phi. Right. The Yanni is the Hinduism symbol called the horseshoe Yanni, which is also referred to as the pearly gate. Yani is the representation of the female genitalia, representing the Hindu goddess Shakti, right? And that is Shakti right there. You see her on the Starbucks cup and some other brands. You see that symbol there. So the symbol was called the Great O or Am of Hindu temples, the Great Mother or Woman, just as Phalaga was the phallus. This phallic image is called the Legam Yani. This is where you get that hexagon, which is also referred to as the Star David. It represents a sexual, it represents sex. It represents intercourse between man and woman. All right. Anyway, the phallic image is called the Legam Yani, altar of India. The genital focus of her divinity or divine energy, the yantra was adorned as a geometrical symbol. The ceremony of baptismal rebirth often involved being drawn through a giant yani. So those who underwent this ceremony were labeled twice born, right? And that's what was interesting too. And I want to touch on this about the movie, right? You saw two planes crash into the beach, right? The first plane was already crashed and already, hit the sands. But then while Brother man went out there. He witnessed another plane crash. Makes you think about Twice Born, right? Also makes you think about 9/11, right? He see two planes crashed, right? That's a whole nother discussion. But nevertheless, let's get back here. The Yanni, right? You see here, there's the female deltas, right? You got the sorority called the deltas, right? You have the double pointed oval, you have the fish, and you have the pearly gate horseshoe Yanni, the Omega Psi Phi. That's their symbol. All right. And doesn't this look familiar? Right? You see the influence of this Ligam Yani. That's the Ligam Yani, Hinduism, right? This is also part of phallic worship. But notice you see here some of you Star Wars techies, those sci-fi techies, the geeks like I am. You know what this is? This is what? The Millennium Fighter. You see that Yanni? This symbol is all around us. So let's go ahead and go to another thing that I want to highlight, right? Let's go to another thing here. Let's go to that Tesla scene. Let's go to that Tesla scene. And what is the significance of the Tesla scene? Man, I know that caught many of you guys off guard. I wasn't expecting to see that Tesla scene, but I'm going to play a clip so that way you can hear what, the concerns about not just with Tesla, but just the technology of the computers all up, within all of our cars. It's not Tesla, just Tesla, man. Any vehicle that has any type of systems, like a tracking system, like a satellite system, whether it's a radio, whatever, guess what? Your vehicle can be hacked. Here's proof. Now let me show you this clip here. You listen to them explaining how, for example, someone had their Jeep truck hacked. Here we go.
It's not fun to have your 2-ton SUV's brakes hacked just as you're parking in front of a ditch.
Okay, hold on tight. Hold on. Oh,
That's what I've learned from Charlie Miller and Chris Valasek, a pair of hackers who have spent the last year developing a piece of software that can wirelessly sabotage this 2014 Jeep Cherokee. It hasn't been altered in any way. There are no devices attached to it. But like many thousands of Jeeps around the world, it can be remotely hacked over the internet through a cellular connection to its entertainment system that would allow someone to take over its steering, its transmission, and even its brakes. To demonstrate that, I'm going to act as today's crash test dummy and drive it on the highway here in St. Louis, while Charlie and Chris hijack its digital systems from Charlie's house miles away. They wouldn't tell me what they had plans, but they assured me that it wouldn't be anything life-threatening.
remember, Andy, no matter what happens, don't panic.
So family, it doesn't matter if you have a hybrid, your car can still be hacked. This is 8 years ago. His car was not a hybrid car. And if you research it, and I remember this, there were people that cars got hacked and had tragic accidents. There was I think it was dealing with the Toyotas. I think it was a Camry or something like that. I can't remember the full details on it, but I remember reading up on this and seeing the information on this. But you saw in the movie how they used these cars as weapons to clog going into the city and coming out of the city. Do you guys remember this scene? Yeah, that was a deep scene right there. I was like, wow. Didn't expect to see that scene. Did you guys see that scene when cars, the Tesla scene? Did that catch you guys by surprise? If that caught you by surprise, matter of fact, let me put a poll up here. You guys know I like to interact here. Let's see if I can. I can't because I'm not in front of I don't have my phone in this room here. I may have to play a quick video and do that. But nevertheless, again, what somebody say here, they're going to start riding their bike again, right? See, family, it's so many nuggets you could pull out of this movie. But you see here how the cars were used as a weapon. I was not expecting to see what I saw. I know that they can be used as a weapon, but I didn't think about it being used in the manner that it was used. Right. So that's one of the things that I want to highlight here. Right. The other thing was the noise. Did you guys catch the noise? And I want to share with you guys the significance of the noise, right? And matter of fact, before I get to the noise, I want to address another thing. This is another thing. I didn't have time to put the video clips in here because of, like I said, it's so much you could just touch on. But before I get to this portion of this, let me show you another clip here. Man, when I saw this movie, I was like, literally, I started doing this here, going through my head.
Stranger danger! Stranger danger! Stranger danger! Stranger danger!
When I saw this scene right here, I'm going to play this scene. I got a different commentary over the video purposely just so that way you guys can understand. I'm going to let Chris Rock explain this scene. All right. This is Chris Rock explaining this particular scene. Here it is.
Things are going all right. I cannot complain. Doing my special, doing a new movie, got a new TV show, successful black man. So you know what's next, right? White girl. Cannot be a successful black man without a white girl. They won't even let you buy a mansion without a white girl. But here's $1 million. Where's your white girl? We have zoning restrictions. You know what's funny? If you black and you got with a white girl, everything that goes wrong in your life, people blame it on a white girl. Everything. It's like, yo, man, I heard Chris got hit by a bus. I goes down to white girl.
That stood out. Now, if you go back and watch the movie, you will see that there was issues between Julia Roberts' character and her husband. There was issues. Remember, what really stood out was the kitchen scene. Remember when she came back from the store, she gave her husband a pack of cigarettes, and he was like, "Oh no, babe, no, those are not mine. Those are not mine." She's like, I know they're not yours." She said, "I bought this because I know you like to take a smoke every once in a while." Then he alluded to her like, "Hey, you know what? We could go do a little something, something. I'm just going to leave it like that. Do a little something. You know, and the look that she gave him as if that they were having problems of him stepping out. Do y'all remember that scene? If you go back over it, watch that portion of the movie. Pay attention. She never showed him affection in that movie. She gave him a stare like, "Don't you go there. You know what you did." Right? But from the flip side, he gave her a kiss on the back of her neck. He was trying to be lovey-dovey, and she was also going full camera mode in there too. She made it clear she don't like people. So here it is, right? She was very standoffish to brother man. She made it clear that she's not used to sharing spaces or, in a nutshell, with black people. She made it clear that they didn't believe that this black man can own a house like that. Come on now. Have you guys dealt with that before? Come on, family. I done dealt with those type of things. I done dealt with working at a company, and people decided that they wanted to go to Google Earth, found out my address, and began to look up what type of house I live in. And all of a sudden, they wanted to literally start talking about it, and I had to take them to HR. Have you guys been there before? You driving a nice car. This literally happened to me a few times. Driving a nice car, all of a sudden, someone, I'm looking at the side in traffic, someone decided that they want to spit on my car. Wanted to spit on my car. And I'm telling you, when that happened, the alert went off.
Stranger danger! Stranger danger! Stranger danger! Stranger danger!
And Nehemiah 13, I want to implement protocol Nehemiah 13. I want to lay hands on this person, these individuals. I've had people try to run me off the road because of seeing me drive a nice car. I done gotten harassed by the police. I was, man, one vehicle I had, a Jeep that I had from Japan. Man, I literally tried to, I mean, police used to pull me over. I literally had the military had to get involved with the local government on the amount of times that they were pulling me over, harassing me. Man, I would get pulled over for them saying you're driving too slow. Like, driving too slow? What are you talking about? Pulled over for them to say, hey, we just want to make sure you all right. So going back to that scene, right? She, didn't believe him. She was disrespecting him. And here it is. He basically bending over backwards for her. His own daughter tried to warn him. You know, the scene when she was telling him they need to worry about themselves. Mother nowhere to be found. Mother could have been on one of those planes, but they knew that mom wasn't coming back. But here it is. You have this father with his daughter concerned about another couple, concerned about the Caucasian family. Would rather leave his daughter at home with a stranger, right? And go the same woman that did not like him, leaving his daughter with him. I mean, with her. Come on, family. Come on, family. Here it is, his wife. And now the same woman, you now having dances with her. You know what was so deep? You know what was so deep? Here it is. They're in the White House. Come on, family. Y'all know what I'm going to. They're in this White House. Black family in this White House. Here it is. Situation happens. He said, look, you know what? We'll sleep in the extra suite. I think it was like the parent suite or whatever they call it, downstairs. And the daughter was like, we're going to sleep there downstairs. He's like, yeah, we'll sleep downstairs. What happened? They slept downstairs while this couple had the main house. That couple, when stuff hit the fan with those pamphlets, what did they do? Yeah, the mother-in-law suite. Thanks, appreciate it, Tamara Yah. So what did they do? They decided that they were going to leave. Said, we got to take care of our family. We got to take care of us. So brother man walking them to the car, encouraging them not to go. But they said, hey, they went Martin Lawrence. So they decided to get to step. And the daughter was like, I mean, he just insulted the daughter. He was more concerned about them than his own daughter and his wife, who was somewhere out there lost. What happened? They left. Then they experienced that Tesla scene. And what happened? They made a U-turn and they came right back to their doorsteps. And where did they sleep? They still had access to the main room. Come on, family. They still had access to sleep in the main room instead of sleeping in the in-law suite. The father and daughter sleeping in the basement of their own house. The people that they bent over backwards trying to make things better, make things comfortable for them. They left, slammed the door in their face, said they got to take care. They got to do what? Self-preservation. They left. And then they came back and then allowed them to go right back into where they stayed. Come on, family. Doesn't that sound like many of us dealing with Stockholm syndrome? Come on, family. That's one of the problems I had with the Julia Roberts movie, not Julia Roberts, the other movie. What was that movie? Birdcage. Y'all remember Birdcage a few years ago? Brother man on there, so concerned about, everyone else but his own sister that had 4 kids. Come on, family. So concerned about everyone else. Everyone else's other communities' kids but not taking care of its own. So here it is, his Sandra Bullock. Appreciate it, Sister Carol. So here it is, Sandra Bullock. He's making sure she's okay, but not taking care, making sure his sister and his kids are okay. Bird box. That's it. I think I said bird cage. Anyway, I'm butchering stuff tonight. But then we see in this movie, one of the observations is there was no sister inside the movie. Did you guys notice that? There was no sisters inside the movie. There was no sons of our community inside them. All it was a father, a brother man, and his daughter. And here it is, brother man. Basically, in a nutshell, creating a situation like a Jonathan Majors situation. Let's hear from Chris Rock one more time. And I know Chris Rock, we can use this as Chris Rock giving Jonathan Majors a word of advice. But let's play this clip again.
Things are going all right. I cannot complain. Doing my special. Doing a new movie. Got a new TV show. Successful black man. So you know what's next, right? White girl. Gotta get a white girl. Cannot be a successful black man without a white girl. They won't even let you buy a mansion without a white girl. But here's $1 million. Where's your white girl? We have zoning restrictions. You know what's funny? If you black and you go out with a white girl, everything that goes wrong in your life, people blame it on a white girl. Everything. It's like, yo, man, I heard Chris got hit by a bus. I goes down to white girl.
Come on, family. Is that crazy or what? So here it is, husband in the by the pool with his daughter getting high with his daughter. Here it is, she's showing more affection to brother man, even though she was a Karen to him. She hugged, you didn't see her hug her own husband. But now she's hugging this brother man. While his daughter is out with a stranger. Smoking, getting high with his daughter. Come on, family. Now, initially I was like, what in the world is the daughter doing? Is the daughter trying to hit on the white guy? What was they? But then when I caught what the daughter was doing, the daughter, like when I saw the daughter, when their son, who was a pervert, recording her, I'm like, what is going on with the daughter? But then when the daughter, basically in a nutshell, brought all of that to her father's attention, saying how that man wants to sleep with her, how the son is recording her, being a peeping Tom, and how the daughter is wandering off. And she was the one that brought all of that to her father's attention. And he was like, huh? What? He wanted to do what? Ready to defend them. Family. The other point before I get into the noise, and we'll wrap up with the noise, I'll drop the link here. Friends. The daughter she was addicted to Friends. And she just wanted to see that last episode. She was addicted to Friends. And I'm not going to get into that, but what really stood out about that is Friends. Brother man, and what that warning to us is, we better know who our friends are. Here it is. Remember, you got brother man, daughter scared, don't want to leave. The same family that didn't believe he lived there, the same family that took off and said they got to take care of their own family. Brother man is going to leave his daughter home with a woman that was what? Trying to Karen him. Leave his daughter at home, scared. Now he's going to go with this man with his son, a pervert, who was insinuating that brother man could be a peeping Tom. That brother man was sleeping out in that shed. Remember that? Scaring the daughter, saying, hey, you see this shed, you see the window. Guess what? Isn't that the room that you sleep in? He was insinuating that the father, the brother man, could possibly be a peeping Tom, a pervert, but he was the pervert, the son. So here it is. Here it is. Brother man leaves. He leaves with the white guy and the white guy's son, who got bit by looked like a radioactive tick, teeth falling out and everything. Now he takes him to a contractor to help renovate his house that he lived in for 20 years. He gets there. Here this white guy got his own family secure. You see his daughter looking out the window. So he's going there to help this white guy with his son. And he's ready to get into a shootout to get medication for someone else's kid. Oh, come on, family. Look, self-preservation, that has nothing to do with hating any community. But guess what? When it's all said and done, I got to make sure my household is straight first. I have to make sure that my household is taken care of first before I can even think about taking care of someone else. Here it is. He's in the car. He's about to get in a shootout with his own contractor. And the contractor telling him, hey, look, things are different now. He's telling them, don't you pay attention to the news? Don't you listen to the radio? Don't you understand what's going on? But when it was all said and done, that same $1,000 that he gave to the white guy to compensate for coming back to the house, the white guy took that same $1,000 and gave it to him to get the medication for his son. And what happened? They flashed back over to his daughter now dealing with all these deers around the house. Now she's in what seemed to be a hostile situation. Now has to depend on the same woman that they both were having issues with, that she was having issues with, to protect her now. Come on, family. Doesn't that sound familiar? Here it is, brother man. Don't know what's happening with his wife. Know that his daughter need reassurance. He was not really connected with his daughter. Did y'all guys catch that? He really didn't have a connection with his daughter. It was like he was treating her like, like she was like a little sister. That's right, my buddy Jay Highstyle. Indoctrinating us to what? Take care of everyone else but our community. This is why, and I deleted it, but removed it. But this is why you saw the Jewish actor, Michael Rappaport, saying all the crazy stuff that he's saying that we should be connected to and protecting and defending and being on their side. When many of us are saying, hey, you know what? I'm taking a neutral approach. You know what? Jewish community contributed to our situation, as well as the Muslims contributed to our situation when we go all the way back to the Transatlantic World War. So we don't have a dog in this fight. We're paying attention. We're not being insensitive about innocent death, but we don't have a dog in the fight. But anyway, family, I wanted to share that last portion about friends. Now I'll get to this real quick. Family, we have to make sure that we got to first take care of self. Let me give this real quick example. On the airplanes, and I'm going to give some, before I give this example, let me give some shout outs real quick. Content and Yah. I want to say peace and blessings, family. Let's show Content and Yah some love and support. Says, thank you, brother, Pastor Kelly. Yahweh will bless you. Really appreciate you, my brother. Thank you for the love and support. Matter of fact, I don't want to just say brother, because you could be a sister to Content and Yah. So I want to apologize, but I'll just say thank you, Content and Yah, for the love and support tonight. Really appreciate you. Thank you for the contribution. And family, let's show some love for Content and Yah. Also want to show some love for Harbinger. I want to say appreciate it to you. Thank you, Pastor, for edifying teaching. Sister Monique. Thank you, Sister Monique. And family, let's show Sister Monique some love here. And again, let's show Andrew some love as well. Let's show Sister Lisa some love as well. And Be Concentrated. Thank you as well. Let me put you up on the screen as well. Really appreciate the love and support. And let me show Lisa again. Make sure I have her up on the screen. There we go. And again, thank you, Content and Yah. Thank you for the love and support. Thank you for the contributions tonight. And we don't take it lightly here. Thank you. Really appreciate you guys. And I want to encourage you guys, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. We have well over, looks like we have almost 1,500 people that are online. Guess what? That's enough people that we can get the channel over the 50,000 mark. I think the last that I saw the numbers, we were just under 49,000. We was like just a little more than 1,000 short of our goal of hitting that 1,000 mark. We have more than enough to get us over that 50,000 threshold. Let me just look at it to make sure. Let me see. All right, let's see where we are with the. Let's see where we are with the subscribers. Yeah, we hit 49. We 48,000. Actually, we just under 49,000. I think we are like 100 subscribers short of 49,000. But we're right there, family. So I'm just going to encourage you guys, if you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Let's get that push to get us closer to the 50,000 mark. So doesn't cost you anything. You know what I mean? So anyway, really appreciate your family. So let's go to get back into it, right? The other thing that I want to point out, right? Self-preservation kicked in, right? I just saw somebody mention it. I was going to mention that too. It says, you notice the Latino lady, he didn't try to help her because he didn't understand her. You know, and you caught that how he left her hanging. He left her hanging. So he already have it in his spirit. He already made it clear when it's all said and done, he's going to leave you hanging. So now he told his daughter about him leaving her hanging. Even the daughter, like, hey, you weird. You weirding me. I mean, you weird, right? You out there. So now here it is. When Brother Man was told by the white guy, the contractor, that this is a whole different world out here, what did Brother Man do? He looked over to the white guy and said, can I trust you? With everything going on. In other words, are you going to have my back? Come on, family. Come on, family. The first thing that should have kicked in was, hey, you guys got to get your own. So now here it is. He's getting ready to go look for a shelter. Not shelter, but the it wasn't a shelter. What you call it? Now I can't even think of the term. Right? But it was it's a shelter. It's a type of shelter, but I can't remember the actual term I want to use. But that's where the daughter ended up at in the end. But now here it is, the bunker. That's right. Thank you, family. He's going to look for the bunker. But before he goes look for the bunker, he asked the white guy if he could trust him. Family, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. They left. Hey, they made up their mind. They left those doors. Hey, all right, guys. Peace. See you later. It would have been all about me and my daughter. They would not have had the opportunity to come back. It would have been me and my daughter going to look for this bunker. All right. So let me get this last point in, and I'm going to drop the link in for one of you guys, starting with my sister Carol, Jay Highstyle. If you guys want to jump on, let's deal with this real quick. The sound. Remember that noise, kind of like that. It wasn't like a klaxon, but it was just that noise that went off. that noise, every time that noise was sound, they would pass out. And one key is just before the noise kicked in, when they were in the room dancing, the white lady, Julia Roberts, told Brother Man that, in a nutshell, that things are going to go back to the old, that things are not going to change. They're going back to old. His wife would be fine and everything. And what happened? As soon as she said things would go back to the old, so to speak, that sound went off. The sound went off. The noise. All of a sudden, that sound went off. Now, because of that, with that scene, I didn't get a chance to play. I'll get a clip of that. But basically, in a nutshell, believing that things are going to get back to normal. The sound went off right when he said that. What's the significance about that sound? Let's break it down real quick. Noisy strongholds. This is starting with 2 Corinthians chapter 10. It's interesting, right? When we start thinking about strongholds, right? Notice what this says here. We're going to start at verse 3. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through Yahweh to the pulling down of strongholds. It goes on to say, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalted itself against the knowledge of Yahweh, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Mashiach, which transliterates to Christ. Right? And having a readiness to revenge all disobedience when your obedience is fulfilled. I'm not going to break this down. I broke this chapter down, these passages down on We Woke Now Extended. If you want to watch the lesson, I encourage you guys, watch the last lesson. I really go into this text, but I really want to highlight stronghold, right? Let's fast forward here. Right here where it says, but mighty through Yahweh to the pulling down of strongholds. Now let's understand strongholds in its proper context. When we go to the Greek word, the Greek definition of what stronghold is, notice what we see here. It says to fortify through the idea of holding safely. Stronghold. But the key is sub-entry A, right? And this is what I'm getting ready to read. Oh, I don't have it here, but this is what I'm reading from. But it's sub-entry A is what really stood out. It says, of the arguments and reasoning by which a disputant endeavors to fortify his opinion and defend it against opponents. The key is, when we deal with strongholds, we're dealing with what? Arguments, reasonings, conversations. Family, social media is the breeding ground for what? Arguments and conversations. See, stronghold starts with what? Conversations. Strongholds are what? Dealing with conversations, creating what? Noise. Now, why am I saying that? In the movie, we see conversations that should not have taken place. We see it. We see arguments, conversations that should not have taken place, that have what? Triggered what behaviors. When you understand the forbidden fruit with Adam and Eve, it wasn't a pear, it wasn't an apple, it wasn't an orange, it was conversation. This is why when you read Proverbs chapter 18, I believe verse 22, when it says death and life is in the power of what? The tongue. Life and death. Let me make sure I'm quoting it correctly. Let me go to the scripture. I like to go to the actual text. Let's go to chapter 18. Yeah, chapter 18, actually verse 21. It says here, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat of the fruit. Now, guess what? Adam and Eve Adam and Eve, in the beginning, Eve had an unfruitful conversation with Hasatan. She had a conversation with Hasatan in which she manipulated the instructions of the Most High. Then she took that conversation to Adam. And Adam what? And he indulged in the conversation. Before you know it, they did not. He created his own holiday, his own holy day. Didn't show up to work. Didn't show up to meet the Most High. But the key is conversation. And we have to be careful of the conversations that we entertain. Does that make sense, family? You have to make sure that you are not indulging in conversations that you should not be indulging in. Because if you're not careful, it can create strongholds. Strongholds just from what you're hearing. All right. So I just want to make that clear. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let's deal with this sound. This is coming from Emory University. And I'm going to drop this link. Let me drop this link real quick. And I encourage you guys to go back and review this here or go over the sources, the links that I'm sharing, because this will help you tremendously. But let me show you this here. Let me copy this here. This is coming from Emory University. We're going to deal with that noise, right? Let me see here. Let's drop this link here. All right, there we go. Let's deal with this noise here. All right, let's deal with this noise. This is coming from Emory University. So that way you guys can understand that noise, that sound. Mice can inherit learned sensitivity to a smell. Trauma can scar people so indelibly that their children are affected. History proves examples of generations traumatized by war and starvation whose children experience altered physiology. Let me read that one more time, because this is what we have to understand. The transatlantic slave trade was actually a war, and our DNA was hacked, created what strongholds that was handed down. Come on, family. Trauma can scar people so indelibly or deliberately, however you want to pronounce it, that their children, I'm just clearing my throat too, that their children are affected. History provides examples of generations traumatized by war and starvation whose children experience altered physiology. So this is telling us whatever our grandparents, whatever our parents, for us, our father, mother, our grandparents, their grandparents, the generations that preceded us, whatever trauma that they went through can have an impact on us. All right, let's continue here with this article. Now, researchers at Yerkes National Primate Research Center, Emory University, have found an instance of animals passing on more specific information about a traumatic experience to their offspring. That information comes not through social communication, but through inheritance. Now, I'll explain this in a second. Researchers have found that when a mouse learns to become afraid of a certain odor, his or her pups, in other words, the next generation, will be more sensitive to that odor, even though the pups have never encountered it. The results were published online Sunday, December 1st in Nature Neuroscience. Diaz and Ressler trained mice to become afraid of an odor by what? Pairing exposure to the odor with a mild electric shock. Think about it. So now they're creating what? A traumatic experience. So now they can what? Now create a certain behavior to that scent, not a good behavior, right? Electrical shock to the scent of cherry blossom when you go deeper into the study. So every time they smell that scent, they will do what? shock them with electrical shock, but it didn't stop there. They then measured how much the animal startled in response to what? A loud noise at baseline. So whenever they smelled the scent, they were subjected to electrical shocks and also what? A loud noise. I hope this gives you more clarity on why you, in the movie, you heard this loud noise. I think it was like 3 times inside the movie. So when you understand these loud noises, right? These loud noises, these traumatic experiences can alter your what? DNA. We see that in scripture, right? When Adam and Eve sinned, their whole reproductive system changed. It was altered. And then they handed those behaviors down to their children. Adam rebelled, Eve was deceived. Their behaviors had germinated to the next generation. So now here we have proving that these sounds, and I knew you guys were going to go with 5G, but I want to take it deeper than that. Let's not just go to the 5G stuff, because truth be told, if you understand microwave technology, it's beyond 5G. I want to put that out there because I know many of us will just focus on 5G, and I just want to make it clear. I understand it's beyond 5G. Do you know 4G, 3G? When we deal with microwave technology, when you go inside your house, many of you guys have a microwave inside your house. Do you know you have that type of technology that was used in the war? But I want to take it a step further. Take it a step further. I just don't want us to focus on the simple stuff. It's easy to go to the route of 5G. And I figured that many people would think of 5G, but it's beyond that. When you start dealing with traumatic experiences, this transatlantic world war is beyond 5G. Seeing our brothers and sisters getting gunned down by the police officers is beyond 5G. When you start dealing with gentrification, that's beyond 5G. When you start dealing with the slave codes, which transition over to the stand your ground laws, that's beyond 5G. We've been dealing with 5G well before 5G was even created. Even though we know that his name was what? G? Whatever, HG or GH? Come on, family. We've been dealing with all kinds of things that have altered our DNA. Do you know our ancestors, by them being raped, kidnapped, and all that, that altered their DNA? Have you ever wondered why, even before you, matter of fact, many of you guys may have never had a bad experience with a police officer, but you have a certain phobia even before you knew how bad a police officer is. Why is that? That's because of the traumatic experiences that our ancestors were subjected to. Come on, family. Your papers could be straight. You know that your papers could be straight with your car. Your driver's license is straight. You know, your insurance, everything is straight. But you get a certain you kind of get a certain anxieties, like an anxiety attack when a cop car gets behind you. I remember years ago when up in Jersey, I think it was Patterson area, a lawyer, a brother man, right? Paper straight, everything straight. Cop went to pull him over just because he had his light was out on the back of his car. He panicked and took off and just started flying with his car out of fear. And what happened? Crashed his car and died. Come on, family. When we start understanding those things, traumatic experience. Can you imagine how they programmed us to even hate money, to get rid of money so quick? Is this the reason why when we start dealing with the $100 bill? Do you know the $100 bill actually had a picture of our ancestors on it working inside as slaves in the field? So now our ancestors have to see a picture of them, this $100 bill of them, being on this $100 bill. They got to seek this image of that shows how they are slaves, how the entire country made profited off of us. Now they have to have a desire to obtain that $100 bill. That's a traumatic experience. Is that the reason why, subliminally, that many of us, like the dollar circulates in our community like for 4 hours, while the Asian community, like something like 24 days, the Caucasian community, 17 days, the Spanish community, like 7 days. But when it get to us, 4 hours. So we're the only community that was enslaved, right? And then we have to have a goal of what? Obtaining the same money by the people that was made by the people that enslaved us. Let me see if I can get that dollar bill here real quick. Let me see here. I want you guys to see this here. Yeah, here it is. I'm going to copy this over. I want y'all to see what the $100 bill looked like back at that time. All right. And then we'll continue with reading this article, and then I'm going to drop the link here. All right. I just got a couple more slides, but let's drop it real quick. Yeah, actually, this is the last slide, but I'm going to drop it like this. Let me go back to and make sure. All right, I'm going to drop it here. And then we'll finish reading it. All right, let me copy it. Oh, come on, YouTube. Let me see here. Let me do it this way. All right. All right, let me. All right, let me put an animation on this. All right. All right, let me fast forward here. So that's the $100 bill. That is the $100 bill. And look at what you see here. On a $100 bill showing us enslaved, reminding us of that traumatic experience. All right. Come on, family. We're the only community. But you could go look up the coins from Germany and you'll see the symbol of the Nazis on one side of the coin and the symbol of the Zionists on the next side, the other side of the coin. Right? Two political parties on the same coin. Nah, that wasn't us. That's not how we were in this country, reminding us of being enslaved. All right. But let's go ahead and do this real quick. I know it's getting late. It is not getting late. It is late. Let's go ahead and finish this article up, and I'm going to drop the link. So it says, sensitized mice also startled more in response to the particular odor that one parent had learned to fear. Right. So what this is saying that the mice that was direct descendants, offspring of the first generation of the mice that was subjected to this traumatic experience, right? They took on the anxieties. They still had those same phobias, even though they were not subjected to the traumatic experience. So it's saying that sensitized mice also startled more in response to the particular odor that one parent had learned to fear. So it said, in a nutshell, they responded in many cases. They had more anxiety than what the previous generation. In addition, it's like it was amplified. They were more able to detect small amounts of that particular odor Smell-sensitive offsprings were not more anxious in general in separate experiments not involving odors. Diaz found that the mice were not more afraid to explore the bright, elevated areas of the maze. Diaz and Ressler took advantage of previous research on the biology of odor detection. Scientists knew that the chemical azotophenone, I'm not going to butcher it, but anyway, which smells somewhat like cherry blossom, activates a particular set of cells in the nose and a particular odorant receptor gene in those cells. Diaz found that both mothers and fathers can pass on a learned sensitivity to an odor. So basically telling you that strongholds can be passed down. So in other words, when it says sensitivities, phobias, right? Behaviors, right? Whatever traumatic experience, like it could be an odor that is connected to these traumatic experiences, is handed down. Although mothers can't do it with fostered pups. In other words, if any mice that was not part of their blood descendants of them, they didn't exhibit this behavior. Only those that are true offsprings, blood descendants of the first generation that was subjected to these traumatic experiences, this traumatic experience, showed these phobias, showing that the sensitivity is not transmitted by social information about the experience. Connected with the odor is being transmitted via the the sperm or the eggs. So this is telling you that strongholds is being handed down through what? DNA, through your reproductive system. So this is why you have to be careful of the things that you indulge in, because those traumatic experiences can alter your DNA and cause your offsprings to take on certain behaviors. Diaz discovered that the DNA from the sperm of smell sensitized father mice is altered. So this is telling you, men, guess what? When this is the reason why there's a target on our backs. This is why we see that what's that group? That group down in Atlanta, that Israeli group down in Atlanta. This is why they have a fear of the next generation. This is why they let me show you this clip. This is why they said this inside this clip here. Let's see what they said in this secret meeting.
The major problem of Israel is with the young generation of the Black community. Black Lives Matter starts there. I had last week a sit-down dinner in my house with all the people which are considered the leadership of the Black community.
So you see, they said our younger generation is a threat. But then stop there. Let me show you one clip of a rabbi. Let's see what this rabbi had to say about our community in the world to come. What world are they developing that they're going to carry out whatever he said inside this video clip? Here it is.
For the righteous, they exist in the world to come and they're rewarded. And for those whose major complexion is black are excluded from the world to come. Major complexion is black are excluded from the world to come. Major complexion is black are excluded from the world to come. For the righteous, they exist in the world to come and they're rewarded. And for those whose major complexion is black are excluded from the world to come.
So what are the plans? What are the plans that they have for our community to be able to make statements like that? That's one of many statements that I have of what they say and what they express towards our community. Racism is real over in Israel, right? They refer to our people as Kushi. Kushi is the N-word over there, equivalent to the N-word. It's equivalent to the pronunciation of this word.
Strong's G 3526. Niger. Niger. Strong's G 3526. Niger. Niger.
All right. So let me play a quick clip, and I'm gonna drop the link here. And let's be respectful. Sister Carol, if you know you guys got first dibs. Sister Carol moderated as far as my buddy Jay Highstyle. I'm gonna drop the link inside the comment section. And while you guys are while I wait for you guys to jump on, I want to also share one more thing while you guys are doing that. Since we dealt with the Spanish Inquisition a little bit, let me put a little history here about who we are, proving that we are truly the people of the book. All right. All right. So there you have it. All right. So while they are coming on, I'll put the link inside the comment section for anyone that want to jump on. But let me do something here because I like to still show a few things about who we are. Let me go ahead and do this real quick. Let me do this because I want to make sure you guys know they know exactly who we are. Like, when I say they know, these religious systems know exactly who we are. Let me pull this up here. And I want to go to, let me pull some key information here. All right. Let's focus on us. Let's give a few sources here on us. I'm not even going to refer to them. I'm going to focus on us tonight. Let's focus on who was sold on those slave ships. So let me put this over here while I am waiting for others to join us. I'm going to give you a couple of sources. Like my cousin Benaiah would say, old sources. And I'm not going to go through all of it, but I'm just going to give you a couple of key sources. All right. I could go scripture, but I'm going to give sources. All right. And I'm just copying this over to this presentation because we're at the end of this presentation. So let me copy this over. All right. All right, here we go, family. Let's deal with a couple of sources here. All right, let me check to see if anyone jumped on yet. All right, so far, all right, let me greet Stephanie real quick, and then I'm gonna show some sources while she's here. Let me bring it out here. I want to say peace and blessings, Stephanie. How are you? Your mic is muted, so you may want to unmute your mic.
Doing well, thank you.
Your mic is muted, so you may want to. All right. And you may want to turn your volume down just a little bit because I hear a little echo in the background. All right. So what's your thoughts tonight? I know I shared a lot, but there's so much in that movie to share. But what are your thoughts tonight? What you observed? You still there, Sister Stephanie? All right. While you're getting your mic set, I'm just going to go ahead and bring my Dora L in.
Greetings.
How you doing, my brother? Long time no hear.
I'm fine, and you? Just had knee surgery, so I've been out of commission for a little while.
Yeah, I understand, man. I understand. Got to stop beating those people. Got to stop trying to kick them. No, I'm just messing with you. No, but I understand.
That's what doors are meant. Doors are meant to kick open.
I like that. So what you have for tonight?
Yeah, y'all got you missed some stuff. Now the beach is comfort. The beach is because you go to the beach to be comfortable. The beach is for comfort. Okay. I was listening to Go Black, and he was saying Kenya, but if you reverse Kenya, it's Anek. Anek means glass. New York is considered the city of glass, remember, and they've already experienced 2 terrorist attacks. So the third one would be a charm. Charm reverse is mark. Okay, so you got a lot of stuff going on in there. And then you look at Obey, the boy wore the shirt Obey. You run that backwards, that's Igbo. 1619, the White Lion, Igbos were the favorite to choose out of all the slaves. They were the most productive. So you got a lot of stuff in there still.
Oh yeah, but you know how it goes. That's why I said it's so much to go into, and that's what I pointed out. And actually, I was going to show it, go through a little bit of the identity thing. I can't just teach this type of lesson without putting a little identity up in there. But you hit it on the nail in terms of when you start dealing with who they selected, and it's so much to unpack, that I think I just was on the surface on the amount of information that you could pull out of it. Especially, I didn't even get into the military side of things. I just kept it on, just a couple of things that I knew.
A major one we missed, a major one too. Pull up Pink Flamingo, the movie, and pull up.
Oh yeah, I know about Pink Flamingo. Like I said, I didn't have time. Just the little bit I did, it literally took up all this time.
Yeah, that's a drag queen movie, and there was a person who was the character in the movie was called the filthiest person alive. Okay, and it was a drag queen. So Pink Flamingos. There's some stuff in there.
See, think about the Yanni.
Yeah.
Right. And because that's why, I was going to go there, but like I said, I just was pressed for time. I didn't have, I just kept it simple, but that's why I talked a little bit about the Yanni. And when you deal with the Pink Flamingos and we deal with you already know when you're dealing with Hinduism, many don't understand that. Especially when you get into the Kama Sutra and all that stuff, they promote bestiality with that doctrine. They promote transvestism with that doctrine. They do it. It's a lot that comes with that.
Yeah,
you hit it on the nail,
man. So that movie is something else, though. But I a lot of that stuff I didn't see it. I saw the 1619, but I was kind of like, because I don't really watch a movie really intently anymore, because I'd be like reading and doing other stuff too. So I try to condense everything down at one time. So I don't, so a lot of that stuff I didn't see. But when I was looking at some of the stuff that Go Black was talking about and some other people were talking about, I said, yeah, okay, I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
But then I started doing a little bit more research on what they was talking about, and I saw some other stuff. So I said, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and see, for me, I didn't want to look at the movie just strictly for the past, but what's coming down the pike.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We could talk about the past, but let's make sure we show and talk about what's being planned for the future. Because we seeing more and more things are being popped up about our community. I mean, think about it. Kevin Hart gets ridiculed for referring to the Egyptians as being dark melanated people. Then when we look at, I'm not sure if you heard about Denzel Washington, right?
Yeah,
the ridicule about that because
playing
of
Hannibal.
Hannibal
was black. What are you talking about? He was black. They tried to make him white, but he was a black guy.
Exactly. you know what I mean? Think about all the things before you know it. And if we're not careful, they're gonna go to West Africa and say that those people were not really black.
Did you hear they tried to get Julia Roberts to play Harriet Tubman?
Yeah, I heard about that. Actually, wasn't it someone else too that they were trying to get to play?
I don't know if it was someone else, but I did clearly read about them saying that they were going to get Julia Roberts to play Harriet Tubman, and they didn't care about the color of the person because they.
Yeah, but it was someone else too, not just Julia Roberts, but with Harriet Tubman, but also Martin Luther King.
Yeah, I heard about that one too.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
I think it was the dude who played the Forrest Gump. They was going to get him to play.
Oh yeah. What's
Tom
his name?
Hanks. Tom Hanks.
Yeah, Tom Hanks, man. Yeah. Right before us, man.
But see, we have to realize they have to recondition us. So this is just repeating the spell, and to weak-minded people who aren't looking for messages, they're falling for the spell again. But see, because they got to keep reissuing the spells out. Okay, you know, like you're showing the money. That's a spell. Okay, that's all that is. A spell, spelling, words, language, letters. All that is part of making a grimoire, making a spell. Okay, so you're just reapplying it, and that's all they're doing is reapplying the same spell to us all over again. And unfortunately, some of us gonna be sleeping and not even catch it.
Yeah. Yes, that's what I was tripping. I was like, when I saw that about Denzel Washington, I was like, come on now. Are you serious? I mean, come on, as a kid, you know what I mean? Remember, they used to have Black History. I remember Black History Month when I was a kid. We had to take, and they had Hannibal there with hair looking just like ours, dark just like us. And I'm talking about in school.
Yeah, they got the coin. So who the heck is that on the coin? You know, they know that that's him on the coin with the afro, curly hair, riding a Indian elephant on the other side. You got the coin. So what do you mean he's not black? I'm like, come on, people, y'all are just, whew, y'all are some of the biggest skimmers and scammers of all time. You know, we can't have our history, and you know, you just want everything.
They're making it clear. Other communities making it clear we can't have our history. Our history is not our history. You know what I mean? They're telling us, no, you don't know what you really want. Let's just say if you say, hey, I want a glass of water. No, you really don't want that glass of water. Oh, yes, I do. I want a glass of water. Do you really want the glass of water? No, you don't. You don't want the glass of water. Wait a minute. I just said I want a glass of water. Do you really want, or is that you really speaking? You know, just all kinds of, I mean, that's the approach that they're doing with our community. And that's why even with this movie, like I said, so much to unpack with this movie. But when you think about it, what made me want to do something, a commentary on it, is the fact that President Obama was involved in it.
Right.
And, you know, from a military perspective and knowing the things that he has access to, it's like, wow, you know, for him to be his name is connected to this movie. And then some of the imagery, the symbols that you see there, it's like, wow, like, you know, again, this White House, right? Brother man and his daughter. And people don't want to accept that he is living in this White House.
Right.
I mean, so many, you know, symbols in it. You know, it's a lot in it.
Yeah. Daddy leaves the girl by herself and she played begging him to stay. Daddy, don't leave me. And that was crazy. I was like, I didn't like that part. I didn't
either. I mentioned that too. It was like, wait a minute, are you serious? His daughter's saying, "Stay here with me,
right? Or let me go with you." You know, don't
exactly.
By my, you know, well, come on, honey, you go with me. I'm like,
so you leave her home with a Karen that was insulting her the whole time, and then you take this man, don't know who he is from a can of paint, take him and his son over to somebody else's house, then you ready to get into a gunfight with the man that was a contract of yours to help somebody else's son.
Right.
Possibly becoming what? You know what I mean? The eternal horizontal position.
Right. So
you know what I mean?
I guess they stayed in the basement and let them keep his bedroom. You know, like they said, you know.
You see them, you see, I mean, that's what really tripped me out. They left. They dissed him and told him that, look, we got to take care of our house. We got to take care of our own self-preservation. They leave, and saw that there was nothing out there that they can do or get to, and then turn right back over.
Right.
Turn right back around.
And get the master
door.
Get the master
right
bedroom.
Back to the same place.
It's the master bedroom.
The master, exactly.
Master bedroom.
Come on now. And you know, they call themselves changing that now. You know, in the what you call it, real estate, they no longer use that term master suite or master bedroom. But you know what I mean? That really tricked me out. It's like, wait a minute. They left. came back, and you put them right back in that house. And the daughter's like, wait a minute, you care? You care? You concerned about them? What about us?
Right. And then peep this as well. Her love of black music. What's up with this rap and everything?
Oh man, I was cracking up, man.
Come on, man. I'm like,
I was cracking up.
And then you hate black people. What's up with that? You know, the double, you know, the double, identity here she got. You know, don't know if she want to love us or hate us. You know what I'm saying?
And I thought she was gonna hurt herself, man. You know, when she was dancing, man. I was like,
oh
when
yeah.
she started doing the move with her hands, but even then, he's going to take her into another room, dance with her, get personal with her, affectionate with her.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't see him really do that with his own daughter.
No.
He didn't hug his daughter when she was concerned
about
their mother.
Right.
I was like, wait a minute. You hugging her, you hugging a stranger, this Karen, who disrespected you and your daughter.
Right.
And you did not show no kind of affection to your own daughter who's hurting because she is concerned about her own mother, their mother, and don't have a clue what happened.
Right. Your wife. Okay. Your wife. Okay. Because we just thinking it's the way they sent it, it's like she's they wasn't married or something. It was an absentee mother.
It was his wife. You know? His wife.
That's your wife. Okay.
Man, I was that part, I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
You know, and like I said, even how the son who was a pervert was insinuating that brother man could be a pervert.
Right.
Remember they went to the shed.
Yeah.
You know, that the outhouse or whatever the house was. It was the Uncle Tom's cabin, whatever.
Oh man, yeah. That's like a slave quarter, man.
Yeah. That's why I looked. I was like, okay. And then he insinuated, like when he looked at the leaves there, he said, basically, whoever comes up in here, that's where they chill at. And saying, look, they have a straight shot at looking at your bedroom that you sleep in.
You just peeped me, man. I remember now, because if you remember when they went back to the cabin the second time, Uncle Tom's cabin, they had the freaking rainbow colors on the wall. Remember?
You know what? I didn't catch. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So there goes that LGBT.
Yeah, that LGBT. Yeah. You know what? Now that you think about it, yeah.
So black man is the LGBT poster child. That's what you're saying.
So he's more committed to their family, to the brother, the white guy.
Right. Because what's Billy Porter, the black man, is the poster child for homosexuality now, you know?
Yeah, man. I'm gonna tell you, man. I was just like, when I saw that part, man, I was like, come on. I was like, nah, man, no way in the world, brother, man. Come on, man. He about to lose his life over strangers.
Yep.
You know,
and leave his daughter with them.
You know, and that's why I was thinking, you know, even making the connection with that movie Bird Box, how you had the brother man knew that his sister had kids and he wasn't really concerned about them.
Mm-hmm.
He was helping everybody else but his own sister. Anyway, there was no Negro sons up in that movie.
Nope.
Nor there was a Negro wife.
Nope.
You saw the Spanish lady by herself, and he made it clear self-preservation. Now, brother man at the end of the movie asking whether or not if this guy is going to be in alliance with him.
Well, that might as well have been that's the modern day Mandingo movie. You remember with the
trust me, man. I was about to put that in, man.
Mandingo, man.
I did not have time to put that clip in. I was going to put a clip in about Mandingo. You know what I mean? Yeah. I was going to put the clip and let you hear the audio, but I didn't have time to do it. That's what came to my mind was Mandingo.
Well, Yep, modern day Mandingo.
I was like, you got to be kidding. That literally, it's funny that you mentioned that. I literally was going to put Mandingo clips in this presentation tonight. I just didn't have enough time to do so.
Well, hey,
So,
hey, it's the #1 movie, so hey, you can still do a part 2.
yeah. I was like, man, it's just so much, man, to unpack there. I was like, that's why I say, well, if you really want to do it justice, you got to take it little by little. You can't just do it
Yeah.
all in one session and just try. You got to unpack little by little. And like I said, it's a number of things I saw that just what you covered, even with the pink flamingos. I mean, it was like, wow, it was a lot. Like I said, it was a lot in that movie, but again, the key was him abandoning his own daughter, his own
Right.
flesh for strangers.
But hey, that's what they telling us. Don't they say black men abandon their family? But actually, the numbers show that they actually abandon their families more than us. So they always putting the bad. It's like even with the prison thing, they have a 60% incarceration rate for white people. We're only 34 or 39%. So you are 60% of y'all are in prison, but you try to make it like it's more of us in the prisons than anybody. But I tell you, just the lies is just, it's just amazing how they exaggerate to the extreme to make us always be the negative.
Absolutely. Hey, my brother, I'm going to show a couple of things real quick. Just want to do a couple of identity things. You're more than welcome to stay on if you want to share some things along the line. But I want to, how I do. I like to still give some type of, for those that may have tuning in for the first time, just to
Right.
give them a few things to let them know that we are the people of the book. So you're more than welcome to stay online. And then afterwards, if you want to share anything, and then we wrap it up, feel free to do so.
Will do.
All right. So here we go, family. I just want to, just what I said earlier, let me just share some sources. Let me stretch the screen out. And this is coming from travels in Holland, the United Provinces, England, Scotland, and Ireland. Let's see what they say about Negroes, right? Look at what it says here. It says, they're men, most black, full of hair. Now, this is dealing with, I'm just going to use the term for the sake of conversation, black Jews. They're men, most black, full of hair, and insatiably given unto women, their wives restrained and made prisoners, their widows distinguished from all other women, Jews by white veils hanging to their backs. They will not bury among the Gentiles. So this is dealing with Negroes. This is dealing with, per se, black Jews. It said they're men, most black, of hair, full of hair, and insatiably given unto women. And this is where you see even the Israelites, or we just for the sake of conversation, black Jews of that time was dealing with the stereotypes that we deal with today. But it says that insatiably given unto women, their wives restrained and made prisoners, their widows distinguished from all other women, Jews by white veils hanging to their backs. They will not bury among the Gentiles, but have purchased unto themselves a peculiar burial place. All right. But here's another one. This is Memoirs of Secret Services of John Mackey, right? And notice how they describe this particular person here, this person in power, Earl Daniel of Nottingham, right? Just pay attention to how they family, pay attention to how they describe him in this source. Let's see what they say about him. All right. It says, he hath also the exterior air of, I can't see, this is Old English, but I can't make out that word. Anyway, excuse me if I can't make it out because this is kind of cut off here. And Old English is a little different. But anyway, it says in application enough to make him very capable in his habit and manners, very formal, a tall, thin, very black man, like a Spaniard or Jew, about 50 years old. What did we just see here?
That word would be business.
Okay, appreciate it. I couldn't see here, so you know how it goes dealing with this old English. So okay, business and application. So yeah, appreciate you making that out. Really appreciate it. But you see here, he's being described, and they also making it clear that he looks like a what? It says like a Spaniard or Jew, about 50 years old, but it says very black man, like a Spaniard or a Jew, and this is 1773. But then we go here. This is filled with a lot of nuggets. Shakespeare and the Jews. James Shapiro, 1996. This is filled with so many references that you could just pull out of here. But notice what it says here. The accumulated experience of over 100 years of travel, trade, conquest had convinced Europeans that some of the acceptable stereotypes of Jewish racial otherness, including the beliefs that Jews were black, needed to be qualified. When William Brereton jotted down his impressions of the Jews in the synagogue in Amsterdam in 1635. So now here we are. He's in a synagogue in Amsterdam, 1635. Notice what he says. He noted that the Jewish men are most black and insatiably given unto women, drawing here on contemporary prejudices linking blackness to licentiousness. Right? You see the stereotype here, but this is the key. And when the Scottish minister Robert Kirk toured London in 1690, he also paid visit to the synagogue there, where he observed over 200 Jews worshiping. He noted in his journal that they were all very black men and indistinct in their reasonings as gypsies. So here it is. We see this synagogue in 1935, then is revisited again 55 years later, and describing and saying that this synagogue, this place of worship, is Negroes that fill up this synagogue of worship. That's what this is saying. All right. It goes on to say, and it's addressing some errors here. It says Maximilian missions, a voyage to Italy makes it clear that, make clear that it is a vulgar error that the Jews are all black. So this person is trying to challenge and saying that, hey, you know what? It's an error to say that the Jewish community is all black people. But notice what he says in response. This mission observes is only true of the Portuguese Jews, who marrying always among another, begetting children like themselves. So it's making it clear the Portuguese Jews, the Portuguese Israelites, they did not marry outside of each other. It says here that always among one another beget children like themselves. Consequently, the swarthiness of their complexion is entailed upon their whole race, even in the northern regions. Did you catch that, my brother Dora Els? Is this not saying that the Portuguese Jews are dark melanated people?
Yes, it does.
Right. And it goes on to say here, now this is what it says about Germany, right? This is what's key. It says here, but the Jews who are originally of Germany, those, for example, I have seen in Prague, are not blacker than the rest of their countrymen. Wow. You see how he's saying, now he's saying, like he said, the Jews who are originally of Germany, those, for example, I have seen in Prague, or Prague, however you pronounce it, are not blacker than the rest of their countrymen. But it goes on to say, even Manasseh ben Israel, in its plea for the readmission of the Jews into England, offered evidence that some of the Jews in distant lands differed racially. So now it's saying, like, wait a minute, there's something different about, you know, they're black, but they're not as dark as what? The same ones that's over in Portugal. But still referring to them as being dark before all of this Ashkenazic stuff kicked in. All right. But the key that I want to get to here, where it says Manessa assumes that the Portuguese Jews are white, raising predictable questions of what constitutes blackness. It says the Merchant of Venice provides another instance of this identification of Jews with blackness in naming Shylock's countrymen Tubal and Chus or Cuss, the latter biblical name, right? And it goes on to say immediately recognizable to Elizabethan audiences as the progenitor of all black Africans. So they're trying, this person right here trying to respond and say that the darkness, the dark Jews come from Caucasian Jews, trying to respond to that. But notice what it says here. The most rigorous English challenge to the position that Jewish nations was biologically distinct appears in Thomas Brown's consideration of whether Jews stink naturally. All right. Yeah, you can't make this up. Right. But let's go to continue with this. It says here.
That's like the white Hamites, man. You know, that gets me too.
Yeah. So it says here, and though the Jews were a race, they were an exceptional one insofar as they reputedly could never commingle with others. If they intermingled and mixed with other people, how could Paul's prediction in Romans about the future calling of the Jews ever be realized? Some writers pointed that the Jews, dark or black skin color, as a marker of their racial difference. In other words, what he's saying here, they Shakespeare, all the writers, all the historians at that time knew that the ancient Israelites were dark-skinned, were black, melanated people. In addition, as members of a religious community from which the founder of this church had emerged, Jews were at once the opposite of Christians and at the same time potential Christians. From a Christian perspective, the only thing that stood in the way of their conversion. All right. And this is another quote from this book. It says, and this is from Paul Isaiah 1665, I knew you to be a Jew, for you Jews have a peculiar color of faith, different from the form and figure of other men, which thing hath often filled me with admiration, for you are black and uncomely and not white as other men. Man, there's so many nuggets here. All right, I'm gonna highlight this last thing here. Anything you want to share, L, before I go to the next one?
Nope, you nailing it. It's like I said, these people, the thing that's crazy is that they say that they know that there are black Jews, but you treat the ones that you went to Operation Moses and Operation the other operation to bring the Ethiopian Jews there that are black, and then you treat them with racism. So they're all over the place. They admit it's black Jews, but then they don't admit it's black Jews. Which is it?
Well, I believe they want to keep the number as small as in their minds to make sure that they're the majority over there. I really believe that. That's why they treating them the way that they treating them. Remember, they were giving them drugs that was caught over time because they were not growing as a community. And if anything, they were shrinking. It was like, wait a minute, something is wrong. Over by within a certain time, they should have grown to a certain number, and that wasn't happening. You kind of find out they were giving the Israelis were giving them the same drugs that they say Hitler used during the Holocaust.
Right. But it's like I said, though, is it black Jews or is it not black Jews? You can't have it both ways. Okay, it's either there are either black Jews, which history clearly states there are, okay, or they're not. You keep choosing which side of the fence you want to be on, to whatever argument you want to make at the time. It's just like the rabbi you showed who said that we're not going to be around in the next world. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah. So which is it? Was Adam originally was the children of Israel boxwood color, which is brown? Come on, that's what boxwood is color is, brown. Give me a break.
Exactly.
You know?
Well, they're trying to make boxwood into like when they say olive, basically into the Arabs that we see of today.
Right.
Kind of like when you hear in the church, hey, yeah, I believe Christ was an olive. The Israelites were olive. Wait a minute. Olive, there's only two colors for olive.
Thank you.
The unripe olive, which is green, and the blue-black olive, which is ripe. Which one? You
Right.
know what I mean? Are you saying that Christ looked sick? Are you saying that he was a Martian? Green skin. What are you saying? So, but yeah. I'm gonna read this real quick.
I think I sent something to your email which deals with that, and it shows it's from the anatomy book, and it shows the ultraviolet color of black skin when it's under ultraviolet, and it's a brownish red color. Okay, so that there's the ruddy color. It shows white, which doesn't have any brown in it whatsoever. The Asian, it's strictly brown, but the African American only shows the reddish brown, which is the red heifer color. Okay, so
exactly. Well, see, that's what ruddy is, but unfortunately, the way that things are, and this part of this source is going to actually address what we see today. But yeah, because ruddy, how it's been pushed through literature today is as if it's a Caucasian with no pigmentation turning red from blushing. It's like, no, that's not the case. Ruddy, especially from an ancient Hebraic school of thought, wherever it's used, it's saying the dark-skinned Hebrews found great beauty in their clear complexion. So to the point that you made. So, but notice what this says here, addressing the racism that's now where it is today, how it's began to surface back then. It says contemporary scholars have traced the origin of modern racism and nationalism back to the 16th century, a time where European nations were coming into contact on an unprecedented scale of other peoples. Indeed, they are quick to point that the words themselves, race as well as nation, only began to acquire their current meaning at this time. Much of this research is flawed, however, by its secular bias. It has been remarkably slow to acknowledge the extent to which theology, now we get into religion, Judaism, Christianity, Catholicism, Islam. It says the extent to which theology shaped the way people thought about it says both racial and national differences in the early modern times. As a result, this scholarship has necessarily ignored the place of the Jews in the formation of early modern European ideas about race and nation, despite the fact that so much theorizing about these topics in the 16th and 17th centuries was produced in response to to theoretical problems posed by the Jews. So he's making it clear that this is, they play a major key to how things have shifted, to how religion played a role to what we see today, of how the Israelites are viewed today. This is why you have DNA tests telling people that they're from the German area, from the Russia area, but they removed the term Khazar or Khazarian there, and now making these people believe that even though that there's no DNA tied to Northeast Africa, that they're still the ancient people through religion. And lastly, I just want to point out one last thing, as you pointed out, my brother, about the Igbos. This is Henry Kissinger. He's a Jewish Secretary of State who he just passed away a couple of weeks ago. He said this about the Igbos. The Igbos are the wandering Jews of West Africa, gifted, aggressive, but here's the kicker, westernized. So he's saying that they're Israelites. But there's others that I could point to, but I want to just kind of highlight that for now. I'm going to stop right here. I got other sources I could bring up about the Spanish Inquisition, but we're going to stop right here. All right. But anything else you want to add, my brother, before we wrap up here?
Nah, just hope our people wake up. That's about it. We can't keep on like this. I'm right now raising a grandson right now. Trying to get up through high school. So it's man, the schools are so horrible. These kids can't even comprehend. They don't have any reading comprehension skills these days. It's like crazy, man. And the schools are happy.
Man, I'm still in all that. Yeah, I'm still in all that. They don't even, like, the kids today, they don't even write cursive writing. They
Yeah.
don't have that in schools now.
Yeah, I'm like,
certain things that was in school that you had to learn, they don't do that now. Even the way that they do math today.
Yeah, calculators. They don't know how to do math. They don't know how to do the problems like we had to do them. We had to show our work. You know what I'm saying? That we understood what was. They use calculators. Just as long as they know how to press the buttons. It's like my brother. He said he went to McDonald's one day. They had the pictures on the doggone cash register because the kids were stupid. They couldn't add them there to put the pictures for whatever item they wanted on the keys on the register. Man. I was like, man. So I know this got to be the last, because these kids, this generation, man, they ain't making them nothing but throwaways, man. Straight up.
Well, think about what we saw in that movie. It's a lot of that in that movie.
Yeah.
A lot of symbolism about the next generation. And think about it. Brother man threw his own daughter under the bus.
Yeah, yeah.
And let's just say he don't have his wife is dead,
right?
Per se.
So I guess he's
out there by himself.
I guess he's gonna be sleeping with the white woman.
You know what I mean? It was like, anyway, like I said, it's so much to unpack in there. I mean, Karen treated him a certain way, and next thing you know, he's dancing with him.
Right. The fact that the white lion is an oil taker. Oil taker is black oil. So what I'm saying, we got to look at the connotation there. Even if it wasn't an oil taker, if it was a cargo ship, we were cargo on the ship. So either way you slice it or dice it, it was referring to us either way.
Exactly. Well, my brother, as we get ready to wrap up, I'm gonna see do you have anyone that you want to throw in the garbage can before we wrap up? Whether it's some crazy doctrine, whatever. How I don't know if you remember, I still do the garbage can.
Oh man, let's throw Trump under the garbage can, man. I'm so tired of this mess with him, man.
Well, what's sad though, real quick, is remember one of the things that went with the little girl, she was so programmed.
Right.
And she couldn't let go of being programmed. That's similar to our community.
Yeah.
Because some of our brothers and sisters, and I can understand, not wanting to vote for Biden, I can understand.
Right.
But many of them wanting to vote for Trump.
Yeah, I don't get it either.
I'm like, wait a minute. Did you pay attention to all what transpired? Have you been gone all the way back to the 90s? When the Central Park 5? I remember that time.
Can you name me one program that Republicans ever sponsored that benefited black people, period?
And like I said,
okay, give me a break. So don't be telling me what the Democrats ain't doing and all that. I agree. Both parties are, not going to do anything about racism because it keeps them in power. So you, like I said, which one do I have a better chance of surviving while I'm here? It's definitely not the Republicans.
Actually, where I'm at now, it's like the way it's looking, I don't think we have a chance of surviving with either one, because when the Democrats died, they making pledges to the very community that enslaved us. So it's like they made it clear they'll let the Capitol, they'll let the White House burn down, but they're not going to stop. They're not going to allow that to be a break inside their support for the Israeli government. They made it clear.
Yeah. So hey, let's throw Trump and the Israeli government under the bus. How about that?
Let's see here. Where's my garbage? I just had my garbage can. All right, here it goes. And I'm throwing Biden in there too.
Yeah,
I'm throwing
yeah,
all of them in there.
yeah, throw them all in there. Yeah,
throw them all in there.
Now, but the only thing I don't get with these people arguing about Biden, they seem to forget that Israel is a different country. We can't control what they do. So, that's a whole different government. So, they act like we can actually stop them from doing stuff, to the Palestinian people or whatever. We can't do any. That's a whole different government, and they do what they want to do.
Well, for me, it's like, hey, you sending them all this money, like what's his name, Stokely Carmichael said, hey, you sending them all this money, billions of dollars, right? But you have over 6 million people that's homeless in this country at the time when he said that.
Mm-hmm.
You taking care of somebody else's territory, but you can't even take care of the people that's here. I just saw a couple of days ago the Jewish community, starting with the Jewish Zionists, the Christian Zionists, raised over $1 billion to help what's going on over in Israel.
That's crazy.
Man, that's why I'm like, hey, same bird, two feathers on the same bird.
Yeah.
But again, we still have to make sure that we're paying attention to what's going on around us. You can't say that you don't care about either one, but you're still sending your children to public school.
Yep.
So you need to be up to speed of what's going on all around you.
Yeah, while you're here, you gotta play the game. You don't have a choice. Until we get our own, you gotta play the game that you're in.
Yeah. Well, my brother, I appreciate you, because I actually went past I actually have a 2-hour limit before I started getting sleepy. So you could probably see my eyes. I'm trying to get open my eyes wider, and they won't go any wider than what it is. So when I was in the military, that's one of the things when I used to have to pull late night hours, like they said, the graveyard shifts.
Yeah.
This is how my eyes would start looking, and every time you turn around, I'm going over to get tested, drug tested. You know what I'm talking about? So you know what I mean? To the point where as though, I had to go to the IG about it.
Yeah, I had to pull a few armory hours after hours in Okinawa.
Yes, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. So I already got sleepy eyes, but when I get sleepy, it's even worse. But hey, I love you, my brother, and
you too.
Let's connect. I know we haven't talked offline in a while.
Yeah.
I know I get your emails though. I still go through your emails.
Yeah.
Let's connect, man. I do plan on coming down in the area in the next month, and maybe we could connect when I come down your way.
Yeah. Okay. Then. Sound like a date.
All right. Well, hey, I appreciate you, and thank you for jumping on and sharing your thoughts tonight. You gave some great information, especially with the Igbo, with the word spelled back. I really appreciate you sharing that.
Oh, no problem. We got to look for those. It's because, like I said, the language could go forward and backwards. It's all it is an anagram. So we just got to be aware, open our eyes.
Absolutely. Well, appreciate you, my brother, and we'll connect soon for sure.
Okay, then.
All right.
Take care.
All right. Same to you. All right, family. Let me give some shout outs here real quick. I see a couple of people in the chat. Let me give some shout outs to the chat. Really appreciate all the contributions tonight. I know I gave a lot of information. I'm telling you, so much to unpack in that movie. I just couldn't get to it all, and I am getting sleepy. So let me go ahead and just give some shout outs here. I want to give some shout outs to T of Yah. Thank you for the super sticker. Family, let's show some love for T of Yah. Also want to show some love to Ya'a Asante Wa, daughter of Zion. Really appreciate the contributions tonight. Let's show some love to Ya'a Asante Wa'a, daughter of Zion. I hope I pronounced it correctly, and forgive me if I didn't. Like the old school would say, charge it to my head, not to my heart. Really appreciate you, sis, for the contribution. Content and Yah, thank you for the contributions. Harbinger, thank you, sis, for the contributions tonight. Brother Andrew, thank you for the contributions. Sister Lisa, thank you for the contributions tonight. And also Be Concentrated. Appreciate the contributions tonight. And family, really appreciate all the love and support. And I like to always say, even though we're about to end the video, but guess what? You can keep the conversation going by posting inside the chat, just by posting in the comment section rather. So I really appreciate you guys, and whatever things that you may have seen in that movie, share it inside the comment section. I may do a part 2 and see some of the comments and bring it out in a part 2, but I really appreciate the love and support. And again, let's continue to move forward with what we're doing. The goal is now, we basically just under 1,000 subscribers. And if you have not subscribed to the channel, I want to encourage you guys, hit the like and subscribe to the channel. Let's hit that that $50,000 mark, subscriber mark. I'm saying $50,000. Now let's hit that 50,000 mark of subscribers. If the great thing will be, the thing that I'll be greatly appreciative of, if we could hit that mark within the next week, and I believe we can. But again, family, really appreciate all the love and support. If you haven't subscribed, click that subscribe button. And if you already subscribed, I would encourage you guys again, go to your page. Go to the channel. Make sure you're still subscribed, because YouTube has been unsubscribing people. Literally, they've been unsubscribing people without me knowing. So make sure you're subscribed. And I saw a few people in the chat say that they were unsubscribed and had to resubscribe or subscribe again. So again, with that being said, thank you for the love and support. All right, we're going to close out tonight. And guys, how I like to close out. In the words of Moses, well, actually through the Most High, Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 and 14, when Israel was facing what seemed to be insurmountable odds, a dead end. They had water in front of them. Egyptians coming up from the rear to bring them back into bondage and also to kill some of them. And so they were in fear. They was in a state of panic. And Moses was given these words to give to them by the Most High. Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 to 14. Fear ye not, stand still, and see the salvation of Yahweh. These Egyptians that you see here today, they will never have power over you again. They will not have power over you again. I'll say it again, will not have power over you again. But here's the kicker. The Most High will fight for you. But we, as a community, have to hold our peace. In that word, in that scripture, in the ancient Hebrew, right, where you see the word peace, it's not shalom. And I know some of you guys say shalom, and others will say salama, and others will say salam. But nevertheless, in the ancient Hebrew, you will not see shalom or whatever words you may say, pronunciation of what you may say. What you will see there is the word karash. Karash. That word means be quiet. So fear ye not, stand still, see the salvation of Yahweh. These Egyptians that you see here today, these Egyptians, these different governments, guess what? They will not have power over us ever again. The Most High will fight for us, but we have to learn how to be quiet. We have to learn how to listen. Right? Slow to speak. We have to learn to listen, discern. With that being said, can't go back, can't stay here, keep moving forward. Shalom.
Listen.
Genesis chapter 11 verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14 verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was Abraham, born in the city of a black man called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was Jacob had 12 sons, for real, and these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10.